going live, yeah?
Yes, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Wherever you are in the world, pull up a seat, get some popcorn, cup of tea, maybe something stronger, because at some point it will kick off. It's what you're here for. It's what I'm here for. It's what everyone's here for. Welcome to the Spurs Review. This is episode 27. Big up to Danny from the Hotspur Hood. He's inside the house, so please subscribe to him. Welcome to the Danalist. Please subscribe to the Danalist channel as well. And if my mods would be so kind to put their channels in. And welcome for a Spurs Review debut to Ben. You can find him at Tot Doc on the platform formerly known as Twitter. And I now believe it's just called. Guys, girls, strap in. We've got Mohamed Kudus. He's the talk of the town. He is signing for Tottenham Hotspur. As far as we're being told, but we are Tottenham Hotspur, which means none of us believe it. None of us believe it until it's signed, sealed, and delivered. We're going to talk about some other rumours as well. We're going to talk about, is anyone leaving? We keep talking about incomings. We've got a bloody big squad. Who is leaving this club? And the players are back in training as well, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Good evening, guys. I take it you're all well. I won't do a mother's meeting for anyone's issues, but is everyone good?
All good, all good.
Same Spurs, different day.
Same Spurs. Well, let's start on that. Same Spurs, different day. It looks like we might be buying someone, gents. And we all know it's Kudus of West Ham, and I think I would say 80% of the fan base seem very much on board with it. 20%, by the way, these are absolutely made up numbers. 20% still don't think he's a needle mover. We're all hoping that Daniel Levy gets this deal done. The latest that we're hearing is that Spurs have offered 50 plus 12.5 million in add-ons, but apparently those add-ons were talking about Spurs winning leagues and Champions Leagues, and apparently West Ham are looking at it and going, well, that means we're never getting these add-ons. Ben, let me start with you. Yeah. Kudus, good signing if it happens, bad signing. What do you make about the whole scenario? He's West Ham, we're Spurs, we don't do business, all this. What do you make of it?
Yeah, no, 100%. To be honest with you, I don't really pay attention to the whole West Ham Spurs. I don't pay attention to the Spurs Chelsea. I don't pay attention to any of that when it comes to signings. If we need someone, we need someone, and I don't really care where he comes from.
Yeah.
With Kudus himself, if I had a choice out of players to sign, personally, Kudus would be one of them, and I'll tell you why. Not only is he a fantastic player, but the way I look at him is he's a problem. Now, we at Spurs have not had a problem player for quite some time. So the way I refer to it would be like a low block specialist, someone who's going to cause a problem, someone who's going to get down the line, maybe bring other players into play. And you really, really need that at a club in certain situations. And we've not had it. So, look, listen, he's not the most prolific. You know, we all know that. I think last season or this season, whatever it may be, I think he ended up with, 5 goals and 4 assists, something along them lines.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. You know, so he didn't have a fantastic season, but I do think his skill pool is exactly what we need. So personally, mate, I'm over the moon that we're looking to get him, and it sounds like it's going to happen. I mean, you know, fingers crossed, obviously, but yeah. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, look. Let me come to the Danalist. I think Ben's right, Dan. In terms of, I like the way he's described it. Actually, he's a problem player. A lot of the players we've had for years and years and years now, they're all very much. I don't want to say boring. I think that's the wrong term. But they're all very much, you know what you're going to get. They're straight line players. You know, I think the opposition know what they're going to do when Brennan Johnson gets it. We know what's going to happen. Kudus is a bit of an enigma. I think he'll frustrate fans, but I think he'll also get them off their seat. Do you feel that way, or how do you feel about it, Dan?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Big up to everyone on the panel and the chat.
Evening.
Look, Yeah, it's getting closer, right? Isn't it? This kind of marquee signing that we've been waiting for this summer. Um, Look, every signing's a risk, isn't it? Because there's the
Yeah.
doubters out there about him that he had a bad season last year, that he's got a mentality problem. You can even see it in the chat. But would you, as a Spurs fan, take that risk? Now,
Dan, I like the way that everyone thinks they know which footballers have got a mentality problem and which ones haven't. I love this because if you speak to the Ghanaian fans and the Ajax fans, they tell you the complete opposite, that this guy had to fight for the cause and had to really work hard to make it as a pro. And then you got fans going, "Oh, he's had one bad season. Attitude. Don't want him." It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is mad. Look, we're desperate for somebody who can do something different, right, in our forward line. Someone who can take on a man, go on a run, do something out of the norm, right? A bit unpredictable, right? But Ben, isn't it? Sorry, mate, Ben, right?
Yeah.
Ben, like Ben said. So I just wanted to get it over the line. If we're going to get him in, and I'm hoping that Frank can make him a bit more consistent, right? And we've seen what Frank's done with, forward players, managing Brentford and Buemo, Wizza, Tony, number of them. He's improved. So you just hope that Frank can, get him up to scratch in this side if he comes through. Like as I said, all signings are a risk. But I think at this stage, it's a risk that we Spurs need to take.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, first of all, just before I come to Danny, guys and girls, you all know the rules. You all know the admin. Let's get the boring bit out of the way. Know where your nearest fire exit is. And also smash the like button. I'm going to ask a favour from anybody new to the show, anybody joining. We are only 55 away from 19,000. 55. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's how much Daniel Levy needs to whack down to get Kudus. Smash that subscribe button. The link is pinned. Please subscribe to all my other guests as well. Danny, he is different, right? He is very different. He's got the most take-ons in the Premier League in the last 2 years. He's got the most successful dribbles across Europe, I believe. I think only Yamal, if I'm not wrong, I think it was Yamal and Doué, I think, have got better, if I'm not wrong. So this is a player that he's a Spurs player. I hate that, but he's what we want to see, right, Dan? What we want to see.
I mean, one thing we have been, especially for the past, let's say 18 months, more than that, actually, 20 months, we've been probably the most predictable team, if not in the Premier League, in football itself.
Yeah.
And it has showed big time. If you want to go by the closest I think we've had to a necessarily unpredictable player, one that's a pain on the pitch, it is actually Richarlison. It's just he's not a very good player, basically, in my opinion. But he is the closest thing I think we've had for a little while that is actually a problem. He's a pain on the pitch. And he's not good enough for what we need. I mean, Kudus wouldn't be my first choice, but he's definitely up there with the choices I'd go for. So if we get him, there's no complaints from me. He's better than anything we've got on the wings. And I think it would be stupid not to go for him. He's going to cost a bit of money. He's West Ham's, let's say second best player after, what's his name, Bowen, innit? I mean, that one would cost you about 110, 120 mil because of everything that comes with him as such. And it's worth going for. I think we can get him for 60 mil. West Ham haven't really got much money. They need players, so they're obviously going to have to sell. I think he's one of those players that I spoke about earlier, where there's going to be certain players that look at us and think, Champions League, I'm at that stage, I want that. I haven't had it before. I want that. And he's also going to look at 17. Now, with some players, that's going to put them off. But when they haven't really got another option as yet, the Champions League one is going to definitely attract them.
Sure.
I mean, if no one else is going in for him and that, let's get the job done now. Let's get it done yesterday. Don't give Chelsea time to do whatever they're going to do and other teams to do what they're going to do. Go for it. Get it done. Get it out of the way. Stop messing about with 5 million or whatever it is they turned us down for. What's it, 50 mil and 5 in excess or so. Go and give them the money they want, the deal they want. Get it done. Because otherwise, I think he's a very good player. with a lot of potential to get better, especially with a good coach, that it wouldn't surprise me if someone jumped in for him at the last minute either. So go get the bloody job done. By the look of it, the ball is in Levy's court.
Yeah.
Go and do it. Get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, VG, I completely agree with this. Mavericks are heavily scrutinised. And I think the difficulty with Mavericks is Mavericks do give the ball away. Mavericks will frustrate. But you know what? That's what you pay to see. You know, lots of people are saying, oh, have you seen how many times Kudus loses the ball? And it's like, yeah, but if every time you get the ball, you're trying to beat a man, you are going to lose the ball. I don't mind that. I don't mind if 5 times out of every 10 he can't beat his man. I care about the 5 in 10 that he does beat his man and create. So I'm comfortable with that. Ben, we'll do one more round and then I'll just spit out and everyone can talk. I don't like the whole let's be nice to each other and just go around. Ben, but you know what I mean. It's all a bit formal, isn't it? I think the interesting thing is we as a fan base, the royal we can't seem to mention players without mentioning Eze's name. And I feel like, Ben, that this has come from nowhere. Yes, Spurs are interested or like Eze, but we've not bid for him. Why won't our fans stop talking about Eze? What? Why? I'm seeing now. I'd rather Eze than Kudus. Well, first of all, they play in a different position. Second of all, we've not bid for one and we've bid for the other. So why can't we stop?
Fair play. No, the funny thing is actually, me and you are gonna argue on that point. I don't think we need Eze at all. Listen, don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic player. We all know that. But I think when you've got a team with Madison, Kulusevski, I know there's slightly different players to Eze. I fully understand that. But I don't think, given those two, you really need a player like Eze. I don't see a tremendous difference. And this is when he's at his best, by the way, not current form. I don't see a tremendous difference between Kulusevski and Eze, if you want the truth. But I mean, we
are going to round this one in a minute.
Well, fair enough. Come at me. But no, Eze, I mean, look, again, he's a fantastic player. I get it. I just don't think right now that is our problem position. You know, we've got ample cover there. I mean, you know, are we crying out for another some sort of maybe deep line playmaker? Absolutely. But with Eze, I just feel we don't need him. And as for people complaining, I'll tell you why, it's quite simple, really. We've been skirting him up for the last 2 years, 3 years. You know, we're looking at Eze. It's boring. So that's why people have got it in their nut that it's probably going to happen. And you know, the sad thing is it hasn't. But the way I see it is, I just think the club look at the situation like, well, is there any point? You know, we've got 2 players in that roundabouts position anyway, so maybe that's why we're not going for him. I don't know, but you know, if he goes to Arsenal, I wish him well, but I'm not going to cry about it.
Yeah, no. I mean, Dan. Before I'll talk about Eze in a minute. Dan list. You get where I'm coming from, right? Like literally, I love Eze. But for me, I don't get this either or. Eze, for me, doesn't play in the same position as Kudus. Kudus is a wide man. Eze is a playmaker. I don't understand why our fans can't separate the 2 footballers and it's got to be either or.
No, they're totally different, man. They're totally different players. Both good. I mean, I really wanted Eze. I really did. And I was disappointed. I mean, say disappointed. We're used to disappointment, aren't we, with Spurs not getting players? But look, I really liked Eze. I mean, really, we should be going for both of them, really, in that forward line to really spice up that attack. Right, that would really spice it up, having those 2 in there, Eze as well, because we know Madison doesn't, last a season. He gets lots of injuries. Kulusevski, it's interesting, Ben, that you compare the both. I don't see them as similar players. I think Eze is fantastic. And I mean, look, he's a sort of player who could, create things out of nothing. We saw him in that cup final against City. We've seen him throughout the season just produce that bit of magic. But they're definitely clearly different players. Like, I think Kudus, he's a winger, takes on his man with pace, trickery. Whereas Eze is a bit more of a playmaker, isn't he? You know, he can go a bit deep, pick up the ball, move the play along, switch it left, switch it right, go on a dribble, there's a free kick in him. Yeah, so I think maybe with the fan base, guys, it's about as a Spurs fan, that you think, okay, we're only going to get one marquee signing, and maybe they're kind of saying, well, if it's not Eze, it's Kudus. If it's not Kudus, it's Mbeumo. I think that the fan base just think there's clearly just one main target coming in, and I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, I do think Eze will end up at Arsenal. I do. I just think Arsenal are moving different this window. They've done Zubimendi, right? They've got their backup goalkeeper. They've got Norgard in to replace Jorginho. They're about to wrap up Gyökeres by all accounts, and all the Ornsteins and the Romanos and that are saying that none of these deals are linked. Like, it's not either or. So when I see fans in my chat going, "Oh, they're prioritising Madueke over Eze," first and foremost, we've got no way as football fans of knowing any of that, right? We've got no way of knowing that just because one might be gettable quicker than the other one. But Arsenal are moving differently, and I think Eze does. Unfortunately, sorry guys, I think Eze is a perfect Arsenal footballer. I do. I think he absolutely suits what they need. But I agree with what Ben said in terms of, I think a Kudus profile is more needed. I would just love it if we got both. I would. I just think, imagine you had Eze, Kudus, and Maddison all behind a striker. I think the problems we would cause opposition defences would be mind-blowing. I genuinely think I'd just let James Maddison sit and dictate and let Kudus and Eze just get in the pockets of space, do what you've got to do. Danny, having said all that, we are Tottenham, and it's almost like we're all settled, aren't we, that, okay, we'll get one at 60. We'll get one, and then the rest will all be like 30, 40 million or freeze. Is that fair to say, or do you see a window where Daniel Levy goes, all right, I'll get two 60 million pound players this window?
If I'm going to be just honest with history, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
If I'm going to use that magic word we use at Spurs a lot, it should happen. Now, for the way I would personally play football with a team, I'll be on Eze all day long. He gives me more of what I want for the way I would play football.
Yeah.
But I think the quality thing about Eze is, I think, like, you get the best out of both worlds with him, as in a Kulusevski and a Maddison in one. I don't think he's quite as good an out-and-out playmaker as Maddison, but he's a much better overall player than Maddison. He's also got a bit of Kulusevski in him. Now, he's a better player than Kulusevski all day long, in my opinion, overall. But he's got a bit of both players in him, the way he plays. He can play as a powerful attacking midfield central and charge forward with it. But then again, he can also be quite light on his feet, considering how big the fella is. Got a good direct ball, good pass, playmaker like Maddison as such. So with him, I think you get the best out of both worlds. And in a worst, like in other scenarios, if you need him, you can put him out wide here and there. He would be the one I'd want to go for. But with a club our size, money we've supposedly got and everything, then why aren't we going for both of them? It's that word. We should be going for both of them. I mean, is he going to end up at Arsenal? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he did. Are Chelsea going to come in at the last minute for Kudus? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me either way.
And Dan, let's be honest. I think at the moment we just know that Arsenal are interested in Eze. Let's be honest. The moment we see from Plettenberg, Romano, Ornstein that the clubs are talking, it will get done. It will get. He's an Arsenal boy, and Arsenal don't have any problems attracting. I know we hate it. I'm sorry. I'm not praising them, but they are a title-challenging football team that can pay wages. They're much better than Crystal Palace. I think once we see that, I think we know Eze's going there. In a way, I just want Eze to go somewhere so that it stops being linked. Like, somebody made a great point.
He's there at the moment, Savva. He's there. And it's like, well, will someone just come and take him? If they're not, why aren't we doing it? And all the time he's there for the taking as such, which technically he still is, you're going to have people like me and others saying, just go get him. Go do it. Until he's done and dusted and baked potato, see you later, mate, gone, people are going to be saying, why aren't we going for him?
I mean, can I ask the $1 million question here? Can any of you give me a reason as to why we actually don't buy a couple of 60, 70 million pound players every year? Like, well, what's the... So the thing is, what blows my mind is we do spend that money, by the way, maybe sometimes even a bit more than a couple of £60 million players. But why don't we target quality? Like, what would be a problem with, let's just say, a Kudus and, I don't know, Xavi Simmons? What would be the problem with doing that? Can any of you give me a reason as to why it's even an issue?
It's Daniel Levy, isn't it? And when it comes to that, I agree. I would rather we went out and bought 2 quality players.
Yep.
No others, fine. 2 quality players and go for quality instead of bloody quantity. Stop shopping down at Primark and go to House of Fraser, for God's sake. And that is what we seem to do. I mean, I say Primark, we might as well go Aldi's the way we shop sometimes. And with that, it's just go get some quality there. Because they get into the first 11, not just one good player and then 5 players that might be good one day or are going to sit on the subs bench.
Well, but Ben just answered the golden question, didn't he? Just asked it. Like, all Spurs fans are thinking, like, you know, it makes sense, right? You bring in 2 or 3 top players, don't bring in 5 or 6, 7, you know, just up the level of the quality of the team. And it just makes so much sense. No one understands it. I mean, I think we have the money to do that because we spend it. Is it the wages this is causing a problem? Maybe. Guys, with Eze, and, you know, we've heard that we've stepped back from that deal. Is it just because there's better offers from other clubs, or do you think it is a wages thing with Eze, guys? What's your take on that?
Eze's wages aren't a problem. I've said this for ages. We talk about wages all the time. The wages aren't an issue. I'll argue this with anyone, right? We've got players that are on more money than people like Eze. You know, we could comfortably give Eze 150, 180k. It's not a problem. And he's on about 70, 80 right now. I think more than anything, this is only my opinion. I reckon we've probably talked to his agent and he's probably said, hang on, he wants Arsenal. Or, look, he wants Arsenal. If that doesn't come off, then we would be happy to come to Spurs. Yeah, these things happen, right? I don't know that, but possibly. And if that is the case, it would answer why we've not bid for him. Or, dare I say it, maybe when Thomas Frank was asked what he needed, Eze's name wasn't there. Maybe when he was asked what he needed, he said, I want a wide guy. I want a number 6. Again, I'm speculating. I don't know that. But we're all going on. First of all, our fan base are going on as though we own Eze. Have you noticed? Like, oh my God, I can't believe we'll let him go there. So what do you mean? What do you mean let him? He's not ours. Second of all, I can't believe we haven't bid. Well, we would only bid if one, the manager wants him, and 2, the player has said, yes, I'm interested in coming. The fact that we haven't bid tells me one of those things hasn't happened. And that's just me trying to make common sense of it.
If some people believe that Ange didn't want Eze, because that is a big rumour that goes about, then you've got to believe that maybe Frank don't want Eze either. I mean, I can't see how not. But if you can believe that one manager wouldn't want him, maybe the other manager don't get him and he just don't fit his system either. I mean, we all know that Eze would have made... I think he would have suited Ange's system, whatever else, but that's done and dusted. But we just don't know the facts on what goes behind. A lot of it, like football itself, is down to opinion, guessing what could, what might, what should, and everything else.
He wants Arsenal. I think. Look, he did the video.
I can't see why he wouldn't.
He did the video the other day, and he was talking about Arsenal, and he was released from Arsenal, and Arsenal are going to be in a title race. He just kind of. I feel like it might be that, but that doesn't mean he's not gettable at the end of the window. I just think the moment a bid goes in from Arsenal, that deal is getting done. And Arsenal will have Saka, Eze, Gyökeres, Zubimendi, Declan Rice. It's a scary looking set of players. It is. It's a good team.
Do you think it could come down to, and this is going to sound really bad, I'll make this a very unpopular opinion. Do you think with Eze, if he didn't want to join, do you think it could be based on the fact that we aren't, and I hate to say this, we aren't winners? Let's be honest with ourselves for a minute. And I know it sounds bad, but we're not exactly serial winners. We haven't won a trophy in 17 years. And the trophy we have won recently, it was a cakewalk, let's be honest. It's the weakest this competition, the Europa League, has ever been. So Is that maybe factored into it a little bit that, well, I'd rather go to Arsenal because despite their downfall, which they did have because they were terrible for a good 8 years, they do still win things, and you don't really get that at Spurs. Do you think that could be up there, maybe?
Oh, definitely, man. Look, if they sign that striker, they'll be in the title race next year. You know, Eze's got a chance of winning the Premier League. So,
Yeah.
and he supports Arsenal when he was a kid or whatever. So, look, it makes sense, right? Yeah, you know, it's a shame, isn't it? Because Eze would have been fantastic at Spurs, and you know, you never know, it could happen, but it looks unlikely right now, doesn't it? It really does. And Spurs are putting their attention to elsewhere, and that is Kudus.
If we know we're not going to get him, then okay, you go elsewhere. It's just we don't know what goes on. It's like I say, none of us know how a player's head works, basically, because we're all unique. That's what makes us human, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Amongst a few other strange things. There will be that player out there who will go to one team instead of the other, and one team who possibly isn't as good as the other because he knows he walks into that team, he's the star player and doesn't have to fight as hard for a place. Even though a majority of people would think, well, you want to go to the best team and fight for your place. Not everybody thinks like that. So does the player go to a team where he's got to fight tooth and nail every week to get in that squad? Or does he go to the team where he knows he can walk in there and do something there, basically, but not a winning one as such? That's when you look at a player and say who's more of a winner or not, basically, in it. But people do think different.
Dan, does Eze get in over Odegaard? In your opinion?
I think it's a fight and a half, and it depends how they want to play as such. Because I think they're both two very good playmakers, but play in a different way.
But the thing is, Eze's everything that Odegaard isn't, right? Eze's got the end product. Eze's got the goal thing in him. I've never looked at Odegaard as a number 10, guys. I think Odegaard is a number 8 that should be a deep line playmaker type footballer rather than number 10. He's not got the goal threat. He's not got the goal threat for me. But do you know what it is? I think what Arsenal are doing, right, is something we do as Spurs fans a lot. We always talk about, well, what if we buy him? What's it mean for him? I think the bigger clubs don't think like that. When you look at Chelsea, when you look at City, these clubs have players galore, don't they? You know, like when City are buying Rayan Cherki, no one's going, oh, well, they shouldn't buy Rayan Cherki because they've got Silva, Foden, Marmoush. They're just going, good player, get him in, we'll rotate. Arsenal, everyone has said for the last 2-3 years, they need that. They need Saka and Madueke as options on the right. They need Odegaard and Eze as options in the middle. They need Rodrigo and Martinelli as options on the wing. Now, all of a sudden, you're going, they do have depth. Arsenal can mix it up. Saka doesn't have to play 1,000 football games a season. So I do feel that it's something Spurs fans, do you remember, guys, during the Poch era, right? Everyone, it was so funny because we all scream and shout at Levy, buy more players. And then any player that was suggested, we'd go, oh, but he's not going to start in front of Dele Alli. Oh, he's not going to start in front of Toby Alderweireld. And you're like, no, but it's a squad. You've got to. And now, fast forward 10 years or whatever that was, you know, coming up to 10 years, you've got to have multiple players in every position. And Spurs have loads of defenders, loads. But for me, up front and midfield, we're very short. So I think that's what Arsenal are doing. I don't see it as a bad thing. I see that as that gives Odegaard a kick up the arse. Eze can float off the left as well. They, you know, for all we know, they might be doing something different next season. I'd be very jealous if they've got Odegaard and Eze and Saka and Madueke and, you know, so that's my take on it. I do think he gets in the team. I do.
A lot of the time, when the club gets to its best, it's obviously got its first 11 sorted out. It's got youth players there, and it's got a subs bench. And then to improve, they start bringing in class players for the squad. Someone who can fight for that first place. Someone that can even get that first place, that you can drop that quality player now to the subs bench because the other one's even better. And one of the biggest problems we've always had at Spurs since I can remember is, bar maybe a position or two now and again, it's always been the drop of the quality from who we would sub as, let's say, a striker or a winger or a wing back to the one we bring on as a sub. You've dropped from a quality player to player, maybe, if you're lucky. Whereas when you are that much of a good team, you can start bringing in quality players to fight for a place as such. And the drop isn't massive. You might take your quality player off because he's had a knock or tired, and you can bring on a very good player. Whereas with us, we'll take I wouldn't even say we've got quality players, but we take, let's say, our quality player off, and straight away it's a drop down to a good player at best. The drop is massive. So when you're doing that with Arsenal now, they've got a very good first 11, especially if they get that striker they need. And they now also need it if they want to go for that title and look at Champions League and that when they rotate or even make the subs, that it isn't a drop from quality to good, that it's a drop from quality to, at the most, very good as such, if you get one come.
Yeah. By the way, just some news. First of all, the breaking news is that there's 758 of you in here and 179 likes, which is absolutely fucking woeful. Pardon my language. That is absolutely dreadful. There are YouTubers that won't start their shows unless they have 200 likes. So please smash that like button, people. And we are 54 subscribers away. We've had one subscriber in the show that could get me to 19k. You lot, you're not doing your bit. Smash that like button. Breaking news out of Italy is that Juventus have told their representatives to find Douglas Luiz a new club. So for me, we'll talk about that a bit later, but I think that's going to alert a lot of Premier League clubs that Douglas Luiz being available. And also that Vlahovic is very much wanted, apparently, by Aston Villa. Just putting that out there. And apparently they're letting him go at 15 to 20 million euros, Vlahovic. So just keep an eye on that. I don't know how much of that is true. That's coming out of Gazzetta. But interesting one. I mean, guys, let's move away from what type of player Kudus is. I've put a poll out there and said, my poll is, will the deal get done this week? And by this week, I mean by Friday night. We all know Daniel Levy's track record, right? And I'm sure we could have this conversation about any player. But wouldn't it be really refreshing, guys? We now know we've seen this from this is what Romano said. He said to understand that Kudus, and I'm told it is Kudus, not us, is not talking to any other clubs. He wants Spurs move. He said yes to the Spurs project, and the club talks with West Ham will continue soon. Ornstein has said the same thing as well. So both of these two are saying that. Wouldn't it be lovely just by like Tuesday or Wednesday to go, here we go? Like, you know, the Romano, here we go. And we go, oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be absolutely lovely? And do you think it will happen?
Well, as soon, here we go. I saw that one today. As soon.
Yeah.
No, it would be, wouldn't it? Look, get it done and dusted. Like by Monday, Tuesday, just bloody pay the extra 5 million, whatever it is, get the deal done and move on to the next target. Like, you know, it's dragging out too long, this attacking player that we're looking for. So, oh man, look, if we can get that deal done, then we all look focus on the next place, which is probably midfield, right? So, fingers crossed, guys.
Yeah, I mean Danny?
Do you even want to see that written on there that basically no one else is interested in? Do you even want to see that, knowing how Daniel Levy thinks? Because if he sees that, he's probably, knowing him, he's more likely to drop down the bid, for God's sake, because no one else is interested. Being sarcastic with it, but it wouldn't surprise me if it happened.
But if we read the words properly, it doesn't say no one's interested. It doesn't say no one's interested. It says he's only talking to us. That could be for a number of reasons. Might want to just stay in London, right? Might want to stay in London. He might want to be guaranteed. He might have been told, listen, if you come, you're playing every game. You know what I mean? But a number of reasons. But I hear you, Dan. Levy, we understand, has offered 50 plus 12.5 in add-ons. I fully expect the next bid to be 55 plus add-ons. I fully expect that's how it will go. And then I reckon the third bid will get accepted at about 57.5 plus add-ons. That's only my opinion. That's where I think we're at.
I mean, I do have a little theory. I will just throw this out there. So I'm not sure how much of this you boys keep track of, but there are a lot of very good players that have a year left on their contract. I've got a funny, sneaky suspicion that most of our business, and we're all used to this, so that's it's not a big surprise, I've got a sneaky suspicion most of our dealings are going to be done right at the end of the window. But to answer your question about Kudus, I don't think that's going to be done anytime soon. I honestly think you've maybe got another 2 weeks before that gets across the line. I really don't want to say that.
That'd be soon for Spurs.
Would you be surprised? It's one of them, isn't it?
But it would be soon for Spurs. Usually we wait until the end of the season before we get the bloody job done. Look how long we took to get Solanke through. Look how long it took for Van der Ven to go through. So if it's 2 weeks, fair play, go 2 weeks, we got a chance. Because usually we'd take 4 bloody weeks for it.
I mean, surely they're working on other players, though, aren't they, as well, man? It can't just be just one player they're working on. There must be other.
You'd hope so.
Other works going on.
Yeah. I failed to believe. Look, I think there's a huge difference between. Said this for ages, between when fans read that Spurs are interested in someone versus Spurs are in negotiations with someone. You can be interested in hundreds of players. It doesn't really mean anything. You know, when you go house shopping, you know, when you go looking for your next house, how many houses do you see before you decide you're on the one? You know, you're very lucky if it's, I've seen one house, that's the one I want. You know, you normally end up having those really long weekends where I've seen about 19 houses and gone, oh, bloody hell, this is boring now. I think fans get those two things mixed up for me, Ben. If, you know, come back to it. I think we do. We see Ornstein say, Spurs have interest in Eze, and we go, oh my God, we're bidding for Eze. And that's why I think fans are underwhelmed quite a lot of the time, because I think we confuse the two.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's absolutely horrendous. I wanted to point this out real quick. You know, you were speaking about Douglas Luiz, and I'm sorry to go off real quick. I don't know if you boys have heard, but apparently Juve, talking of obviously looking at other players, apparently Juve are very interested in Basuma. Have any of you heard this recently?
Yeah.
It's floating about.
I've heard they're interested in Basuma, so do a chop and change sort of thing.
Exactly. Apparently Basuma is valued at, well, from what I read, Daniel Levy values him at 15.5 million. That can't be right, surely. Or is he another one?
He's only got a year.
Right.
A year left on his contract.
Okay, that makes sense. Right, there we go. Well, I mean, he could be
that would be a great swap, wouldn't it? Luis for Basuma, I think we're all sitting there going, brilliant. Like, for me, I don't think every deal needs to be 60, 70 million. I want to see us be smart. I want to see us go and get some cheeky free transfers. Like Aston Villa picked up Kamara and Tielemans for frees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those two midfielders cost nothing. I want to see us do that sort of deal, a swap deal. I want to see it, Ben.
It's sad. Can I ask though? Is anybody else, you know, with Douglas Luiz, is anybody else just a little bit concerned as to why it's not worked for him over there? Well, that worries me a little bit. I don't know about what you boys think, but it's a bit.
Maybe it's just one of them things. It just did not work for him. Even you can get quality players and just put them in certain leagues, and that certain league just don't work for them. It's happened many a time in the Premier League. It's happened many a time in Spanish league, Italian league, whatever. It happens. I think Luiz is definitely a player that we could deal, who would definitely do us good, better than what we've got, depending how we want to play, depending what part of him you want to use more than another player as such. Again, for me, I don't know what formation we're using yet. I don't know what style we're playing yet. So it's hard to sit here at times with certain things and say what particular player I want. But he's definitely one. Basuma, it just hasn't worked here. I think he's a significantly better player than how he has played. But the past two managers on him, past three, haven't used him to what he is best at. And defending is definitely not it. But again, I just don't know what sort of formation we're going to use, what he's going to want his midfield to use. That's why a lot of it at the moment for me is all ifs, buts, maybes and guessing, because I honestly don't know what style we're going to play. At least under Ange, whether we liked it or not, we knew how he played football. We knew what players we would personally have there.
At the same time, Dan,
we just don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, it's also, as irritating as it is, because you can't guess, it's nice to know that we've got a fluid, adaptable manager that, from what I've seen, uses at least three. Oh, tell me about it, right? Who uses at least three formations. I mean, he's got the five at the back. Well, yeah, he's got the five at the back that he tends to use. He's got the the 4-2-3-1. He's got the 4-3-3. So it's real nice to have that. But it is irritating because you can't really guesstimate as to who we're going to go for. But, you know,
no, we haven't seen him start. But you're right what you're saying. I've seen him, from what I've looked at least 4 different formations that he's used. We just don't know what exact one he's going to do it. 4 or 5 even. We just don't know exactly what one he's going to use for this team. And I keep saying my opinion is 5 at the back or 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it, is the best option for what we have now. But then bring in, say, 2 quality players in certain positions, and the style of the formation he would use, you can change it to a 4-2-3-1 easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask that, Danlist. Isn't this a good thing? Like, as football fans, we all sit here and we talk indefinites, and we're all guilty of it, right? We all talk in absolutes. Like, everyone's going, oh my God, we've got to have 2 wingers. Maybe, just maybe, Thomas Frank doesn't see it like that. Maybe he sees Kudus as an inside forward. Maybe he sees, you know what? I reckon I could do with him what I did with Mbuemo. Maybe I want, you know, I don't know. Maybe he's just thinking in his head, I can use Porro going on the outside, Adogi on the outside, and then I'll have the likes of Kudus and Maddison tucked in, like we were talking about this morning, Danny. You know, maybe Danlist, maybe that's what he's thinking. And we're all going, we've got to get this, we've got to get that. Maybe the manager doesn't think that.
Listen, he's got an idea in his head. He said it in the interview, like, you know, he's already playing around in his head with formations, and obviously he didn't say what, but, you know, he's got an idea. He's got an idea of profile play he wants to bring into this side. Look, there's something going on there. He said he's going to closely work with those above him. So, look, there's a plan putting together. What that looked like, we don't know. It's fantastic that he can be flexible with the formations. We've all been crying out for it, haven't we? That, you know, 3 at the back, 2 at the back, adapting to different opposition, you know, all of this stuff we want to hear. Will Frank settle for one formation and then change up? We don't know, do we? You know, I don't know. What Frank was really highly praising of the forward line, right? And look, I get it, right? He has to praise them. You know, he's gonna have. You can't come in and say they're rubbish. You know, he's got to get their confidence up and believe in them. Maybe he thinks he can turn certain players into different roles. You've got Brendan Johnson. Maybe he's going to go more central. You've got Tell. You know, everyone's talking about he has a lot of potential. Maybe he's thinking he can get more out of him. He did talk about Tell, didn't he? He said that he needs to improve on his some kind of consistency in his game, which, yeah, obviously, of course. So, look, I think the tactical flexibility, it makes a lot of sense. And then when we're looking at the players, it's going to be, you know, maybe it will sign a player that can play in multiple positions or 1 or 2 positions instead of just one. You know, do you know what I mean? It could be that. You hope so. I mean, just hope that this team that they get, these players that they bring in, are going to be at a level that are going to kind of up the level of the team, right? Because we are very far away from the top sides. So we need to start working in that direction. You know, we all hope we at least bring 2 of them. But then gradually over the next couple of transfer windows, we do it again, build that level of the team up and the squad, and just go from there.
I think the other thing with that is, I think the majority of people can sit here and say that Ange was not a coach in any means or manner, and not even a good manager. And we've all seen that Frank is a good coach. And he's also actually managed to bring his coaching staff in. That's a big thing. Can he make certain players better? I believe he can. I can believe he can get a majority of this team at least back to their standard. Can he make them better than that? We shall see. But we've seen him do it with players. But when you see people like Tell coming, and what we did see play of him just wasn't good at all. It doesn't really matter even if you got Pep sitting there or whatever. You're not very high excited on it because of how poor you've seen the player is. Can Frank make Tell better? He's got a better chance of doing it than Ange. But I can't say I've seen anything off of Tell to believe he could get significantly better in the first place. I mean, how poor was he overall? But then on the other side of it as well, we have been all slating Ange so much because he is a terrible coach and a poor manager. Then you've got to look at some of the players and just think, were they really that bad? because they're that bad, or was it that bad because of the tactics? And I'm one of the ones saying that a majority of the players were that bad because of the tactics that they was made to play. If you, some players can adapt a lot more than others, other players they can play their way. So what a top coach does is work out what he's got and work out how to get the best out of every player he can, and win those games as such.
Sorry, can I just ask? I mean, I want to address this, sorry, about the Kudus situation. Sorry, I just want to go. I feel like we say these things so easily, right? Kudus didn't have a great year, sure. How many players don't have great years? It doesn't mean they're not good. It doesn't mean that they don't go to a new club, reignite their form, a new manager gets the best out of them. It's like everyone's forgotten his entire career because of one bad year in a bad West Ham team, right? Everyone's just forgotten. Like I'm saying, he's got no end product. Well, the year before this one, he got 20 goal contributions in 44 games for West Ham in a David Moyes setup. That's bloody good. And I said this to you earlier, Danny, so sorry if you're going to hear this again. But yeah, I'll say this to Ben and Dan. I think what people are forgetting is if I had sat here 12 months ago, right, on a show like this and said, right, guys, we're going after Mbeumo, right? Bearing in mind, he wasn't the main man at Brentford at the time. I think he got about 8 or 9 goals. Tony was their top goal scorer. If I had sat here and said, going for Mbeumo for 60 million, everyone would have gone, what? Oh, my God. What? Who? What? That guy for Bournemouth that's never even scored 10 Premier League goals. Look what Thomas Frank has done with him, coaching him. Look what he's done to develop and coach him. Why don't people understand that this guy coming into Tottenham, right, is going to have a coach? This guy's going to have a coach that is buying him for a reason that will get the best out of him. It doesn't have to be 20 goals and 20 assists in the season. He's going to give different things. He's going to bring other players into the game. He's going to get us up the pitch, hold on to the ball. He's going to run at defenders. He's going to take them on. I feel like everyone is making out that he's absolutely shit. They're just forgetting. Ben, I'll come to you. They're just forgetting everything he done at Ajax and for Ghana and for his first season at West Ham because of one below par season. I just think we're so short.
Can I just add a point to that quick? I'll just add a point to that quickly. Sorry, Ben, but just add a point to it, yeah? This isn't necessarily the way I personally see it, but I'm going to change it round to another side. Usually, you go for a player because you look at a bit of history, but you definitely look at their past season as such, yeah? If that's the way they're going to do it and not take in the player as a whole, yeah? Like what he's done over, let's say, the past 4 seasons. If you only go by the last season, okay, then no, we don't go for it. Because he did not have a good season. We've seen that he can do better, but we're only looking at the last season, yeah? So no, don't go for him. But then no one should complain that we went for Solanke then, because his previous season was good. Not that I agree it works like that, by the way, but I'm just spinning it a bit. Like, well, if you only want to look at the last season, which I do understand, do you really want to grab someone who had their last season was bad, but when you look at their previous 4 seasons before it, they were good, you know there's a good player there. Okay, so we go for Solanke because he had a very good season before, but then you look at his 4 seasons before that, and that was his only good season he's ever had, basically. So what do you do?
No, it's true. I mean, look, to be honest, I think Savva's got a fantastic point with you know the way people are saying certain things about Kudus, but I can see both sides of the coin with him because in one instance, I mean, it's just my opinion. I never tend to take too much notice of a first season for an attacker, and I'll tell you why. It tends to take a season for other teams' players to figure people out. I've seen it time and time again. People have come in, you know, for multiple different teams have been fantastic in the first season, and it just fizzled out because people worked that player out. I think with a player like Kudus, he's so electric on the ball. I feel like the positive to him is you can't figure it out. You've got to find a way to stop him. Most teams can't. But I can see what people are talking about because, again, like I say, it's a two-sided coin. Maybe the other thing that's might be putting people off, and again, this is a Daniel Levy problem, is that it's 60 million. I mean, personally, I don't think Kudus is worth 60 million, but we all know if we spend 60 mil on a player, that's going to probably be our big marquee signing, right, fellas? I mean, because it usually would be, because as we discussed a minute ago, we'll do 160 mil and then maybe a 20-year, maybe a 30-year. So, you know, but again, when people say that, I can kind of understand it. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Sure, but do you know what? This is the difference between our fan base and other fan bases. These teams, these other teams, when they buy players and it don't work out, they move them on and they want the next one in. We seem to think that every signing we make will be exactly similar. And I'll tell you what I mean. If we buy a French player, he's going to be like Ndombele. What? Because they're both French. Do you know what I mean? Oh, hang on, we're buying an Argentinian. He's going to be like Lo Celso. Like it just feels to me that we try and put situations to compare that apples and oranges. They don't actually have anything to do with each other. It's this, and it works the other way, Ben. It's like when we go. I said this on this morning show as well. It's like when we got in Sessegnon. People will go, don't rate him. Yeah, but remember what happened with Gareth Bale? Yeah, but there's no what because they're both left backs that came from the Championship. Like it doesn't mean anything. I genuinely look. I watch Kudus. Right, I watch Kudus, and I just think he's different. He is different. He is. You called it. He's a problem. I mean, look. Let me show you guys some stuff. Right. First of all, if I look at Mohamed Kudus, right. First of all, I think what people have got to remember here, right, is when you scroll down here. Let me view all his stats. So this was last season, right? Let me just go to 2025 overall 24-25. So if we look at this, right, can you see that at the bottom?
Yep.
So look, you can see if you see the positions played, you can see there's absolutely no consistency at all. There's absolutely no consistency he had last year in a team with two managers that didn't do well really under either manager, two different formations that West Ham need time under Potter, but blah, 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 blah. If I scroll down, you can see it. Look, it says played as. If you actually have a look, he's played as a left winger 9 times. His favoured position is right winger, cutting in on the left. So he's played 9 on the left, 8 as a centre forward, 7 as an attacking midfielder, 6 as a right winger. There's no continuity. So, yes, the stats aren't, oh my God, wow, it's breathtaking. But at the same time, we've seen what he's done in previous years, right? If I then show you this, right? This is the one for me. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Let me make sure I get this right. Here we go. Let's stop that screen. Present, share screen. So if we have a look at him on, this is me comparing him. I'm comparing him to him, right? This is on Data MB. This is him in the pink was last season, and in the blue was the season before. So when everyone's going, oh, he had a really shit season, nearly all the data is the same. If we're going to be honest, yes, a few more assists and a few more non-penalty goals, but nearly all the data is the same. But he's playing in a weaker team. He's playing in a team that didn't thrive, that didn't play well under 2 different managers. But what you can see here, look at the dribbles. He's got, for the dribbles, those are both at 95%. Yeah, attacking actions. Look how high up he is on those. Right? This guy is something we do not have. We do not have it, but we're trying to find reasons to not want him. And then when I asked earlier, chap, sorry for the rant. When I asked earlier, come on then, people, give me right wingers that are better than Kudus, that are realistic. All the names that came up weren't really realistic. There wasn't really any names going in where you're like, yeah, I get it. There was names like Mbuemo, who's going to Man United. That's not realistic. People saying Eze, well, he's not a right winger. Like, do you guys see what I mean? Like when you look at all of the facts and the data rather than just let's look at the assists, and it changes.
It makes a lot of sense, Savva, what you showed up there. It's so interested, isn't it? So interesting. Look, West Ham didn't have a good season last year, did they? Everybody was struggling, new manager coming in. But for me, when you showed us that all those different positions he played, no wonder he got no consistency. Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. So people do need to look into things a bit more. I think that helps. And hopefully it will help some people watching to kind of maybe have a bit more hope on the player. But I think, again, with Kudus. I think for other fans, they may want a different player, you know, and then they don't think that player's as good. There's a lot of that going on, of course. You know, you would rather want Eze than Kudus or Mbeumo, etc. But no, there's a lot of good signs. And I think with Kudus, it's so important for us because if you saw us last season, we struggled, didn't we, at times to kind of break down teams, and especially away from home, you need that pace, you need that weapon, you need somebody who can hurt teams, especially when we're kind of having to sit back a bit and soak up some pressure. So Kudus has so many different tools. I think we're going to enjoy him. I think let's just hope we get it over the line, and I think with Frank, he'll get him up to scratch, improve him, hopefully get him. So right wing, guys, is that what you want to see him at? Right wing I don't know, guys. What do you reckon?
That is his main position, isn't it?
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it, for us? Because we've had Johnson there.
Yeah,
we need it, don't we?
Left. Dan, I don't know. Is what a lot of us have been complaining about all season that we haven't got. Actually got a fella on the wing with a pair on him that can actually charge with a ball, that can actually take his man on, that will take his man on, that can get past his man, that can cross a ball. And that's what a lot of us have been complaining that we haven't had on either side. I mean, it's definitely one thing I've been complaining about. Now, if he's just as good on the left as he is on the right or whatever, and we go and stick him on the left to be our winger, and not my first choice, but we left Johnson on the right to just do what Johnson does to cut in there and tap it in, I think we've already got an improvement there because you've actually got a winger who can charge with the ball, run with the ball, take his man on, will take his man on, can cross the ball in there. Because we haven't got that. The closest thing we've got to someone who can play as an out-and-out winger and cross the ball here and there is Solomon. If you want to put someone who I think would be good at it, the best crosser of the ball we've got is Porro.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even play as a right winger, even though I'd love to give him a go as a right winger personally. But again, it's all going to come down to the tactics. But everything about the player is everything that a lot of us have been complaining that none of our wingers or so-called wingers have got. Tell definitely ain't got it. Son definitely ain't got it as a winger. I mean, Johnson, well, need I say more than that? And then you look at who else we've got. Kulusevski isn't a bloody winger. Odobert, well, need I say more? He's everything that we have not got as a winger and everything we have been saying we want as such.
So where predominantly do you boys see him playing? Because, like, for me,
On the right.
if we were to get Kudus, I wonder, I mean, I'd have him on the left all day long because I feel like his ability to get down that wing and whip it across, because he is it ambidextrous for both feet, I assume? Yeah?
Is he right foot or left foot?
I'm not sure, but I know he's good with both.
left-footed.
I've seen that. So this is the thing. If he plays down that left, does he improve Johnson? Because the thing is, well, look, we all know Johnson's problems. He can score a goal, but that's about as far as it goes. But I wonder, with Kudus and the team running down that left and causing that problem, does he improve Johnson? I wonder.
That's what I was saying. We all know what Johnson is actually good at, and he is actually good at it, just getting in that dirty little sweaty position like you're playing FIFA and tapping it in the back of the net. He's that annoying one that does it to you on when you're playing FIFA on the PlayStation, and that is literally how he plays football, and he is actually good at what he does there. But is he good at anything else? No, he's not.
Dan, look at this, right? So this is in the season, bearing in mind, Dan, right? Last season, I remember having this conversation with so many people saying, why can't we go and get Kudus? We missed out on Kudus from Ajax, right? Mm-hmm. It's, again, very short memories, people. This was his season the year before. And what do you notice? Look at the goals, look at the assists, and look where he played. Right? He played the majority of the season on the right wing.
On the right.
Right? 14 goals from the right wing, 4 assists from the right wing. Right? I haven't looked yet. I'm now gonna have a look at I'll look at his season before. I don't know this, by the way. I don't know what I'm about to see here because I've not seen this yet. So this was his last season at Ajax. But again, you can see here, he played a bit of centre forward, but again, you can see when he's played the majority of the games at right wing, his output, what we're seeing on the right wing, is very, very good. So when people are saying he doesn't score enough, he doesn't assist enough, what they're saying is he didn't last year. One year. If we're going to do that, guys, if we're going to do this, no player is ever going to be bought, are they? If we're literally going to say a player can't have a bad year, new manager, new tactics, new setup, new projects, new club, new hope, new belief, all these kind of things. I just think we're trying to find. I think we're trying to find negative things with every player now.
It's how you want to play. If you want to play someone to cut in and have clean shots at goal, they need to play on the opposite side of their foot, don't they? So if you play them on the right side, if you want them to be able to cut in and have a clean shot at goal, you need them usually to be left-footed. If you want them to be able to, say, play on the left side and play as an actual winger and cross that ball in more than they do cutting, then it definitely helps if they're left-footed, doesn't it? Whereas if it's more of a goal scorer, inverted you want out of them, I'd say 8 times out of 10, you're better off playing the opposite foot on the opposite side as such. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
It depends where and how we want him to play. And from what I have seen in his history, and that I've only seen him play a few times at West Ham, but from what I've also seen in his history, obviously had a look on YouTube, same as a lot of us had to judge a player. We've all been guilty of it. And again, it depends how you want him to play. I think if you want him as that out-and-out winger, then you put him on the left side so he can cross the ball with his left foot. But then he's not going to score as many goals. If you want him to be that cutting winger as such, who's going to do a bit of both, but definitely go for a lot more shooting than crossing, then you put him on the right-hand side so his left foot's with the goal, basically, don't you? For me, it depends on how we want to play him. But I think he's a player, we can get both sides out of him if we want to. And that's definitely an advantage as well.
I can't see the stats you're putting up. Are you saying predominantly he does his best work on the right-hand side?
I'm looking at his last 3 seasons. The correlation between when he plays on the right with the goals and assists he gets compared to anywhere else is huge. And what we're seeing is last year when he played for West Ham, he's playing here. And for me, that doesn't do anything right for anyone. I want him on the right, picking the ball up in dangerous areas, shuffling onto his left, running at players, beating them. That's what I want personally. I think we will do that the same way. If you look at Mbeumo, and I'm using Mbeumo because it's somebody that Frank has had and coached. Mbeumo last year, if I'm not wrong, had more crosses into the box. If somebody might quote me wrong here, I'm pretty sure I saw that no one had more crosses into the box last season than Brian Mbeumo. Now, if you've got Kudus coming in, playing on that right for Spurs, why wouldn't he coach him to do the same thing? If you can't cut in and get your shot away, get the cross in. And at the moment, Ben, when you look at all of our wingers, Tell can't cross a ball for love nor money. Odeberg's delivery has not been good. Sonny cuts back in every 5 yards, and now that may change. Now he's got a new manager, but he's not an out-and-out wide man. As Danny always says to me, not many of them are actual wingers. You've got Kulu, who, when he plays on the right, he wants to cut in on his left. This is a guy that will run at people, beat them, and get balls into the box or get shots away. I'm really excited. With a manager
that hopefully, and from what we've seen, knows how players play at their best. And someone else mentioned it on the side on here. Well, I was also thinking about it as well. If we use him as, say, an inside forward, inside winger, there's 2 sides to it. And then you actually use Porro to what he is best at and use him as overlapping. I think you've got the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, let me show you this. Let me show you a few things. I've moved over to SofaScore now, and again, you can use all of these tools for whatever you want, really. But I'm just having a little play about, guys. And this is Kudus last season. I mean, look at this heat map. Okay. Look at this heat map. He's everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. And when you look at most players, they're not absolutely everywhere if they're wide men. They're normally on their side. Now, I might be wrong here. I'm gonna go out on a limb without having looked this up. I could be full flat on my face here, gentlemen, right? I'm now going to look at live. You can see this live, right? You can see what I'm doing. I'm now going to have a look at Brian Mbeumo. And I want to see what Mbeumo's heat map was.
Do you know what, Savva? I was thinking the same thing.
Right. Right. Okay. Boom. I love it when a good plan comes together. Look at Mbeumo's heat map. Look at Mbeumo's heat map playing for Thomas Frank. All of his work is done down that right-hand side drive. You can even see where the red drives into the box.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think he will do with Kudus. I think it will. So I don't think Spurs are going to be this tick-attacker, free-flowing, I think we're going to do what Brentford did, but with better players. I think we're going to get the ball to the attacking players quickly, to the Madisons, who will be your Damsgaard. Hopefully Kudus, who will be your Mbuemo, to Solanke, who will be your Visser. And I think it will be about transitioning quickly and running at teams quickly, driving quickly without cutting in 5 yards every time.
Well,
that is what I would do.
When have we looked at our best? When we have played come back, exactly, counter, because there's plenty of ways you can play counter, yeah, but we have looked best when Ange was here with that team we looked best when we sat back a little bit more, got the ball, played quick, direct, forward, counter-attacking football. Get the ball, right, no piss balling about with it, and then bang, 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 pass the ball forward, there you go. That is when we looked at our best. Whether it was we intended to play like that or we were forced to play like that in games like against Villa and City, where we just got forced to play like that. They couldn't even invert because they was on us so much. But as soon as we got the ball, 3 sharp, direct, good passes forward, and we was on it. And I think that would still be the brilliant way to play with the set of players we've got. And yeah, with Kudus on there as well, with what you showed at first, I think if I saw it straight, you could see when he's played on the right-hand side, there's definitely a lot more heat going into the middle as such. Whereas when he played on the left-hand side, there was significantly more down the left-hand side playing as an out-and-out winger. It looked anyway from what I see. And yeah, I can totally get what you're saying with that. Stick him on the right-hand side then, have him cutting in to do his job. He can pass the ball, he can cross the ball, he can shoot the ball. You've got Porro overlapping him. You've got one side fixed. And plus, he's more than willing to run with the ball and take his man on. I also think with Porro, you play him overlapping, I think you'll also see him take his man on a bit more.
Agreed. Yeah, it's listen, I just think Aussie Dude, I don't know what you're talking about, Aussie Dude, you're just trying to stir trouble because of Angepostecoglou going. I know who you are. Don't you worry, mate. I have this really weird thing where I remember every name of every viewer who comes in. I know you, I see you. Guys, I need to do some super chats before we move on. But I just think it's interesting. As I said, sometimes I think when we look at things on the cold front, right, I think we go, this, that. And when you actually then start looking at some of these other things, you start realizing, oh, hang on. And that's why I showed there. And it's like what we looked at this morning. When you look at the heat map for what the fullbacks at Brentford do in a season, you'll see that everything the Brentford fullbacks did was on the outside. Everything Spurs' fullbacks did was on the inside. So again, what you're going to see is, I think you're going to see sorry, I'm being presumptuous. Kudus signs, right? And what you're going to see is Kudus has got the ability to go on the outside or the inside. But if he does, he's got Porro that will be on the overlap rather than the underlap, allowing him to drive into the box and get shots away left-footed, or to lay off Porro, who, as Dan said, is the best crosser of a ball at Tottenham. I think that looks like a really good side. And Kudus does work hard as well. He does work hard tracking back. So, sorry, I if you can't tell, guys, I'm pretty pumped for this one. Let me just quickly do some super chats. You're on mute, Dan, by the way. Let me just quickly get these out of the way. Big up to Jack, very generous. Jack was the originator of the super sticker train. Big up to you, my man. One show we had like 120 people who all put in £1. It was really very interesting. Big up to you, Jack. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much, my man. Also, Daniel Field putting a super sticker. Very generous as always, Daniel. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you, buddy. Big up to you. Big up to my man, Luke from not Luke, sorry. What am I doing? Blaine Dev, big up from Super Spurs TV. Much love, bro. Hope you're well. I said, big up, lads. Hope Kudus gets done. Go for Richard Rios. Cover at fullback and a striker. That's a good window. Lots of work to be done. Well, yeah, we're going to move on to midfield in a minute. Big up to you. I really appreciate that, Blaine Dev. Thank you very much, buddy. Jack Spurs has come in and put another super sticker. He wants to get this super sticker train going. Big up to you, my man. Thank you very much indeed, Jack. You're a legend. Big up to Blaine Dev, who's come back in and put in a super sticker. Really appreciate you, my friend. Very, very generous. Really appreciate that. Scott Colliver, very generous as well. He's put in a super sticker. Very, very generous. I am always appreciative of people. Big up to Mark, who's just put in a super sticker. Thank you very much. And he's become a channel member this month as well. So big up to you, and look out for the channel member show that will be at some point in the coming week. Big up to you. Andy Lester has decided that he wants to play the super sticker train game. Fun fact, if everyone stuck in 99p, we'd make £750 in the hour. Just saying. It's up to you. Big up to you, Andy Lester. Thank you very much. Big up to, let me get this right, Cat Funt. Always a dangerous one to say this. I said, big up, guys and girls. Tottenham to sell Manos Solomon and Brian Hill to sign Mbuemo. Tottenham news. I feel like Mbuemo's not ever going to happen. I feel like we've never bid for him. He's made it very public that he only wants Man United. And I think that we're all just hoping that because he played for Frank that we were going to get him. And for me, it's a bit like the Eze ones. Until I see some sort of bid, it tells me a deal's not going to happen. But the other two definitely do need to go. Absolutely. Big up to you, Cat Funt. And big up to Saga. I said, Thomas Frank, in brackets, take risk motto, and Kudus, Maverick player. Getting the best out of Solanke, 20 plus GA, and whoever wins out on the left wing should be a good enough attack, do you think? Yeah, listen, I think it all depends, doesn't it? It all depends who is on that left wing for me as to whether it's a good attack. I do think that he gets better out of Solanke. I do. I fail to believe that Solanke is as poor as we saw last year. I don't particularly rate him, but I do think he will get more out of Solanke, because I think he'll have Solanke actually get in the box, and I think he'll have crosses coming into him. Left wing, for me, will we play with an out-and-out left winger? I don't know. Does he find a way that he gets Maddison and Kulu in and he doesn't play a wing? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. We'll wait and see on that one. But thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. We are now only 52 away from 52 from 19,000. I'm going to stop talking now because I'm absolutely shattered. Guys, let's move it away from Kudus, right? We'll move it away from him. We'll wait and see what happens on that front if we get him. No one at the moment is leaving. At the moment, now it's early days, and you know, waiting for the kind of merry-go-round of the transfers to begin. But that's got to be a slight concern. Let me start with Dan List. It's got to be a slight concern, Dan, because we do have a big squad, and to make space for these footballers that we want to buy, you've got to sell, right? So are you expecting to see many going out, and who are you expecting to see leave?
Well, we saw them all back, didn't we? Don't know if anyone's seen that little video.
Yeah.
I mean, Gil was there. Who else is there? I ain't seen for a long time. There was somebody else. I thought
Leho Belice was there. Scarlett
that was
there.
it. Belice, that's the guy. I thought we sold him the other week. Maybe we didn't. But no, seriously.
7 million or something.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of players we could move on, right? Who are they? Obviously, the obvious ones, Bassoum on the last year. Everybody wants Richarlison gone, but, he's not going to leave easily. I mean, Solomon. I don't know, guys. Look, there's a lot of players. Solomon could go out. There's Gil, obviously. I've already said him. Who else, really?
Who's the Argentinian striker? Who's the young Argentinian striker? Is it Vela?
Yeah. And then Son's staying now, isn't he? Is that official? Is this true? Guys, do you believe it?
I don't know. No, with Son quickly, Dan, I believe what got said earlier this morning, I can't remember who said it. If he is going to go, it might already be half sorted out on that. I don't think we'll see the back of him until we've done our friendlies. Right. And then they let him go. Down to the money thing.
What's this thing that he's going to stay one more year?
I don't know.
Did anyone see that?
I've seen that as well.
I haven't seen it from
anyone.
I think there's levels of sources, aren't there? There's levels of sauce. You get the sauce that you get in a calf, which is all. When you get ketchup in a calf, and it's all a bit watery. You get those sort of journalists, and then you get your HP and you get your Romanos and your Ornsteins. Dan, I don't think we're going to know anything on Son until after We've had the tour. We're not going to do anything before we go to South Korea.
Look,
We suck.
look, I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying, basically.
I got carried away, guys, because I saw people on YouTube doing videos saying his son's here for another year. My fault.
I could believe that as well, though. I could believe that as well, but for me,
he stays, Dan. You think he'll stay?
I could believe either. It's one of those things that neither would surprise me. Personally, I think he should have been gone 2 years ago, but that's just a personal opinion. It would make common sense on the business side that if you are going to let him go, like I tell you, like, right, I'll let you buy him and that. Let's come to a deal with it, whatever. Wait until we've done our bit in South Korea. Then the deal can start going through as such. Because I think on the business side of it, I think we'd be stupid to go to South Korea without Son in the team, basically. It wouldn't have the... I mean, why are we going to South Korea? We're not going there to play friendly football because we're going around to get experience. We're going to South Korea because Son will attract a lot of money out there. That is the reason we're going to South Korea. Not because it's a good place to go and play bloody friendlies and that. So if he does go, I agree, like it got said this morning, he's not going nowhere before the end of the tour in South Korea. It'd be stupid if he did, really.
Fellas, for his legacy, are we all in agreement Son should leave?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Listen, I'm like Dan. I think he should have gone a couple of years ago. I think the problem you've got, Ben, is we've triggered the 1 year extension, and surely for me, you trigger that 1 year extension so that you can get 30 to 40 million out of him in transfer fee. If we've triggered that extension to let him go on a free, I mean, you have to ask questions about everything. Surely you let him go for 30, 40 million. And for 30, 40 million, I'd go and get Mikowadze from Lyon. Probably won't be 30, 40 million. Probably Lyon in trouble, be 20, 25 million euros. That's me done. That's what I'm going him, Kudus, Madison, Solanke. I'm happy with that.
You go and sell Son for 35 mil. I mean, even with his age and that, depending what league he goes to, like I keep saying, I think Serie A would be the best league for him all day long. But again, the other thing you can say with Son is whoever goes and buys him, to an extent, they're getting him for free, apart from his wages, because they'll make his money back within the week. Just like Juventus did when they went and bought Ronaldo for 70 mil. They actually made that 70 mil back officially within 2 days, for God's sake. And whoever goes and gets Son, they will make that money back. And
we were
that is where we can carry on. So say we say, say we sell him for 35, go stick another 40, go stick another 5 on it. Why can't we go for Paulinho? Because he's not going to be 60 million. Why can't we put in a 40 million bid for him? And I would say that is exactly, that's what I'm, but he's not going nowhere until we've done those friendlies in Korea. It'd be stupid if he did on the business side.
No, absolutely. I don't think he's going. Look, I think it will be interesting to see what does Frank make of him. What, again, it goes back to what Dan said earlier. What is the formation going to be? Does he naturally look at his formation and go, I think Son is right for X, Y, or Z place in the team? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he turns around to the board and says, I think, I can do better without Son. I don't know. Maybe he thinks I can absolutely use Son. I think we have to give Frank some credit on this one. Son is the captain of the club. Yeah. And, I'm guessing, look, listen, Frank's a very astute, intelligent man. He will know what he wants. He'll know, and everyone knows Son. This isn't a player he has to look at in training for months. He knows Son. He'll know what he can do. He'll know whether or not he works in a Thomas Frank system, right? If he picks him in the team, whether we want him or not, I have to trust at this stage that Thomas Frank will know what he's doing and will get the best out of him. Personally, I think he should go. But if Thomas Frank gets the best out of him, we'll all be happy with that, right? Isn't that fair?
Yeah.
With the
you need to move a couple out, don't you? You need to move out a couple. Solomon's obvious one, right? Richarlison's obvious one. Then you've got a lot of kids, haven't you? You've got to decide what you're going to do with them. You're going to loan them out, get a bit of space. Felice, that youngster, we've got to move him on. So we need a bit of space to go in that, because that forward line, it can be better, couldn't it? I'm sure.
Mm.
Tell's obviously signed, so he's going to be playing. You've got Wilson, of course, as well. You know, going to see him play, fighting it out on that left. So, just have to hope that they can shift out some of these players. And if they do bring anyone in, they're going to be better than what we're letting go, right?
For sure.
I think with who we've said... Go on, Ben. Sorry, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say, Dan, am I right in thinking we've got 7 or 8 centre-backs at the club? Both young and senior.
We've got 9.
Like,
More.
high rated.
I was going to say we got more than that.
Got
There
loads.
you go.
We've
You've
got
got Van der Ven, Romero, Danso, Dragoshin,
Vlahovic,
Davids. You've then got Vuskovic, Phillips, Dorrington, and if Takai's coming in, today or tomorrow, whatever it is, that's 9. That's
Jesus.
9. So I would expect, let's talk the centre halves. I would expect 2 of the younger ones will go. I think it will be Phillips and Dorrington. I think Phillips and Dorrington will go. I think somebody like Vuskovic could go back out on loan. And I do think that there is going to be a lot more to this Romero stuff as the transfer window goes on. So I think we might very quickly whittle that 9 down to 6. That's only my opinion.
Yeah.
On the formation side of it.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay. On the formation side of it, from the more and more we're talking about players that we're getting at, to me, it's starting to look. I mean, I would rather see 3 at the back, but that's me. I'm starting to picture that the manager's looking at. It's all a guess and ifs, buts, and maybes, but I think he's, by the look of it, if we go for Kudus, I think we're looking at a 4-3-3 playing with a DM and 2 inverted wingers, 2 inside forwards, whatever. I think that's the sort of thing we'll be looking at if we go and get Kudus, because then he's definitely concentrating on the wings. And with that, then 100% out of the 3 in midfield, we definitely need an out-and-out DM there if we're going to. What he's done at Brentford is use Udogie and Porro at what they are best at, and that is overlapping. Udogie is one who I'm definitely looking forward to seeing possibly more of what he's capable of under Frank. Because when he played at Udinese overlapping football, he looked very good, especially for his age. He come over here, played inside, but it's starting to look like a 4-3-3 to me.
4-3-3?
Yeah, as in 4 defensive midfielder, 2 centre mids, left, right, however they're going to play him, inverted or whatever, with 1 striker. That's how it's looking if we get Kudus.
He plays with 2. He doesn't play with a 6 out and out. He plays with a 2, doesn't he, in the double? He plays a midfield 2 normally. That's what he did with Morgard and Janelt, for example.
I can see, yeah. Fair enough.
It's going to be interesting to see. By the way, Alex in the chat, Alex, you know when I said we say things so confidently, we say things as facts. You turn around and said here, Phillips is better than Takai. Vuskovic is better than both. You have absolutely no way of knowing that at all. You have no. How can anyone sit here confidently and tell me that Ashley Phillips is better than Takai or vice versa, and that Vuskovic is better than both? I genuinely don't know where we come out with this stuff from. Vuskovic has been on loan in Belgium. Takai has been playing in the J League, and Ashley Phillips has been at Stoke. What metric are we using to say he's better than him? And if Phillips is better than Takai and Vuskovic is better than Takai, why have they signed Takai? I just feel like that's a very definitive statement without really any. Sorry, just for me, I don't know how you can say that. Just for me.
Don't know, man. I have to see these players, play. We haven't seen them, have we? Not seen Phillips at all. Who was the other one? The young kid who's just come to the club, isn't he? And then the other one, unless he's been watching the Japanese league.
Yeah.
A
fair play if he does, because that is very.
Dan, a lot of people do watch it. Didn't you notice as soon as we got him, like how many people knew how great he was? A lot of people watch it.
I don't know, man. Each to their own, eh? Each to their own. Look, everybody. I don't know what to say about that, Savva, to be honest, man. I can't really. I want to see the players. I want to see the players and judge them in the team. And once I've seen them, and I mean not just 1 or 2 games, they've got to be playing consistently, across the season, and then you can start to see what they're at. So I don't know, man. I don't know really what to say.
Just quickly, I saw this as well. I like this. Drew Scott. I don't believe that's your name. I'm gonna, I genuinely don't believe that your surname is STH Cart. I'm not having that. Savva, why can't we bid for Sesko now? You accept average strikers. I mean, first and foremost, I don't accept average strikers. Everyone knows my feelings on the strikers at Tottenham Hotspur. Second of all, sure, I'd love Sesko to come to Tottenham. I'm pretty sure, though, that it doesn't just work like that. Have you got any idea if Sesko wants to come to Spurs? Have we got any idea if Thomas Frank wants Sesko? I just feel like this, just get him now. Come on, it's fallen through with Arsenal. Just get him. I don't think it quite works like that. However, I would love Sesko up front for Tottenham Hotspur, Drew. I really would. Can't see it happening. We spent 60 million on Solanke, and I see that being our guy. Not that I want him to be our guy. Guys, it is funny. Honestly, the way I love my chat. Sometimes I look at comments and go, have you really thought about what you're typing? Like, do you really think about it? Oh, look, guys, the interesting thing, Dan said it earlier about that we don't know how he's going to play. We talk about all these defenders we've got. If we are playing a back four, then some of these centre-halves are definitely going to have to go, right? You're not going to have 9 centre-backs at your football club. You're just not. You're going to have 2 that play, 2 on the bench, maybe 1 more young player, but you're not going to have 9. However, we have been linked. I say linked. We're actually we're interested in, and we've inquired about the Winter of Genoa. Now, it's a player I don't know much about, but I've gone and watched some videos over the last couple of days. Very difficult with videos, right? Because you're doing, it's a highlight reel. Highlight reels don't normally show their shit bits. It is what it is, right? But for me, it tells me something's going on with the Romero situation. I fail to believe we'd be looking at any more centre halves if there wasn't something. And I'm not saying he'll go, Ben, but it's got to be something. We're linked with the Winter. We're linked this morning with Scalvini. Is this just a backup? Like we're looking at, if he goes, we want this, or
is this the Genoa player, Savva? It's the Genoa player.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He looks good from what I've seen.
He's highly rated.
Yeah, he looks good. But are we doing this just in case Romero leaves, or is someone else leaving? I don't know. It just feels like we want loads of centre backs.
I'm not being funny, but
Romero wants to be here. Go on, Ben.
No, I was going to say, I'm not being funny, mate, but if that is the case, you'd think we'd go for someone like a Murillo from Forest, someone a bit more higher profile. You can't replace someone like Romero, who, in my opinion, is world class. There's plenty of stats to really back that up, especially with the 3 finals that he's been in and won and been man of the match of. You can't replace him with a De Winter. I mean, obviously, Dan would be your man for that, because I know, Dan, you love your Serie A, don't you? That's your...
I've only seen him play once.
Okay, fair play, fair. I mean, he's meant to be,
I
know of him.
Judge you.
He's highly rated, but I mean, yeah, if Savva, the point you make, Savva, if that's right, bud, good Lord, you need to be looking at someone a bit higher up the scale than that, surely.
No,
why?
Ben, what you need
Why?
is consistency. Let me answer in this
Is
one.
Romero that good? I feel like when our fans talk about him, they talk about him like he's Ledley King.
No,
like
Ben, seriously,
me and
the
Dan
problem
have had this back and forth.
on his day, Romero is a world-class player. On his day. It's just the problem is he has lack of days. He's so inconsistent, I can't call him world-class. And I suppose you can say any player can come out and actually have a world-class game. But he does have world-class games, and he definitely does seem to do it in the massive game of a final or something like that. So fair play. But for me, if you go and put, who I would do is I would quite happily sell him and then go to Nottingham Forest and offer what I've got and see if I can get Milenkovic. That is my sort of style of defender. Yeah. Now, with them two, you would say on their day, Romero is better. He's a world-class defender on his day. But if you go and play him for 20 games, you'll have, say, 3 world-class games, 5 games where he's a 5, 3 games where he's a 3, 6 games where he's a 7. Where he's so up and down, it's unreal. Whereas you go someone like and get Milenkovic over a matter of a season, or even Danzo, in my opinion, and they played 38 games each. you'll see a more consistent season out of Danzo or Milenkovic than you by the end, if you add up all the points, than you will do Romero, because he's just so inconsistent. I mean, on his day, he's good, he's world class, but he's just so inconsistent as a player. Whereas from what I've seen of Danzo so far, and what I know about Milenkovic, I've been following him for bloody 5 years. I mean, Savva, first show I ever done with you, he was one of the first players I brought up. I wanted first to go for him. He is a player that you can say.
He was so
excellent.
Good at Fiorentina.
How no one else had gone for him, I never know. I've been saying for like 4 years to go for him. I've been following him for 5 years. He's a player that you will see at least, maybe bar one game, a 7 out of every game. Now, okay, that don't make him a world-class player, but you go and add that up over a season, that he can have a better season than Romero. Whereas the games that Romero will stand out, he will significantly stand out. It's just there won't be enough of them. And plus, it also depends on how you want your defender to play as well. Now, if you want a ball-playing defender, Romero is better than Milenkovic. You want an out-and-out defender who can get the ball forward if he really has to, but he's quality in the air, quality at tackling, cool, calm, calculated, can read a game like a book. Milenkovic is a much better defender than Romero, in my opinion. But if you want to play a ball-playing defender, Romero's very good at what he does. He just doesn't do enough of it for me.
So are the club thinking Radu's no good and Danso's not going to be there, the one? So what is the club thinking here? If we let Romero go, are they going to go in and get a better level centre-back? Or they just, I don't quite get the kind of plan with that, guys. A bit confused. Anybody?
I think you've got to look at it like this. First of all, it's a different manager, right? So Danso and Dragoshin have nothing to do with Frank, right? Now, I'm just speculating here. I don't know. He might see them in training and go, yeah, do something with that. Let's be fair. This is a manager, by the way, that got players at Brentford like Ethan Pinnock, who had played in like League 2 and League 1, and he made him a good Premiership centre-back. This is a player that brought in Nathan Collins, and Nathan Collins got brilliant stats last season. It's a player who bought Sepp Vandenberg, right? Christopher Ayer from Celtic, if I'm not wrong. I might get that confused. But so this is a manager that doesn't have superstar players, right? But blends them into a team. And I think what a lot of our fans miss, and this is where I think we agree, Dan, on this. I think what a lot of our fans miss is sometimes it's not about who is the better player. Sometimes it's about, can you blend the defense? It's about partnerships. And when I look at a lot of defenses, the best defenses are where they've got solid partnerships. It's not always best pound for pound player. It's the partnerships. Look at Forest. Forest went and got Milenkovic and Murillo, I think was like 20 million between them. Look at them as a centre-back pairing. Everything in the air they won between the two of them. Yeah, they love the tackle. They'll die for the calls. They're like John Terry types. You're going to throw your body in front of everything. So, yeah, I agree with Dan. On his day, Romero is obviously better than a Danso. Obviously better. I can't say about Davinci.
Who would you have in the team? Guys, just to everyone, who would you rather have in the team? Romero or Danso or Radu? Savva? Who would you rather have in that team week in, week out, playing next to Van der Ven?
Yeah, but I feel like that's a binary. I think that's a real binary question, which it's not that simple.
No, just your thoughts. I'm just interested to hear what
a fully fit, switched on Romero. It's Romero. The problem with Romero is, like Dan said, one game he's this, next game he's down there. Now chuck in how many games of football this man misses. Right?
So, Savva, you know that. So who would you have there over the season if you had to make a choice of a manager, knowing that Danzo is how he is, knowing that Romero is how he is? Dragusin, we can't really judge him at Spurs just yet, and we have played him totally the wrong way. But so knowing that Romero is like that, knowing that Danzo is like what he is, what we've seen him play, who would you put there next to Van der Ven if you had to make that decision?
Yeah, just Savva, just what you've seen them playing.
I think it's a fair question.
Yeah,
Look, I mean, obviously Romero, if he's here, but again, it's the being fit. My point is, if Romero was to go, I don't think he's difficult to replace, because I think what you get is, whether it's a Danso, whether it's a Davinci, right, whether it's a Scalvini, what these players are is they'll play every week. They'll form a partnership. They'll do the hard work. you're going to get maybe a 7 out of 10 every week rather than a 5 or a 9 out of it. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes we underestimate that. But
Would you be comfortable, Savva, with either one of those next to Van der Ven going into next year, Danso or Radu? Would you be comfortable with that, or would you be looking at saying that Spurs really should go out there and really upgrade that position?
Look, listen,
because there's only so much money, isn't there, and whatever.
I think if Romero goes, we will sign a centre half. I do think we will if he goes.
I hope so.
But if he doesn't, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, because the difference with what Frank will do to what Ange has done is the defence will be 10 yards deeper. The midfield 2 will be 5 to 10 yards deeper in front of them. The fullbacks won't be inverting and leaving gaps. So what you'll actually see is a well-functioned, well-oiled midfield that maybe aren't all superstars, but all work together as a machine. And what we do at Spurs is we just look at this player's better than that player. Okay, but what about if you actually put a foundation of a back four together where they all know their jobs, they all actually defend? I don't think it's the end of the world if he goes. I really don't. I know like Lubo's here now and he loves him, but I genuinely think this man for 4 years has shown he's not reliable. He's up and down, but yes, on his day, he's fantastic. And there are many like it.
Hold on, Sav. Can I just pick you up on something, mate? There's nothing wrong with Romero's injury record. He just really likes to play for Argentina.
I mean, I wish that was true, Ben. But his injury record is dreadful over his career. His injury record in his career is. By the way, and Van der Ven.
But he is always fit for Argentina.
Yeah, he is. That's the problem. It's a bit weird.
What does that tell you then, God? What does that tell you then?
Yeah.
Look, my whole thing with him is this, right? Romero, for me, I've said this I don't think he wants to be here. Now, if he does, let's get a new contract sorted. Let's get him out on the pitch week in, week out, and let's go with it, right? But I always caveat this, and you boys probably bored of hearing me say this. If we want to build a team around Van der Ven and Romero as a centre-back partnership, we can't be complaining when they miss so many games next season. Don't be complaining that we didn't get another centre-half in. Don't be complaining, because we know what these two are like. They miss football games every bloody season. So I just think we've got to be careful what we wish for sometimes. Anyone? Someone talk?
Uncomfortable.
Someone talk? Lubo, welcome.
Evening, guys. We okay?
Where
I
are
was
you?
waiting for Ian. We said Romero. I was waiting for him to say something.
Where are you?
Portugal.
Why have you called in? You're in Portugal. What are you doing? Why are you not drinking a nice glass of red in a nice little bar in a back street somewhere?
No,
He needs his adrenaline.
We've just been out. We've just been out for dinner. Everyone's wet. We sat on the plane on the runway before taking off today for 2.5 hours because there were storms in London, and because of the storms, all the airports, none of the planes were taking off. So they had to work out. They had to do a schedule of flights from Luton, Heathrow, I think, and we sat there for 2.5 hours. So there you go. So it's been a long day. It has been a very long day. We picked up at 9. We got here at 7. I mean, it doesn't normally take 10 hours door to door with Portugal.
So what you thought is, it's been a long day. Let me go on and get absolutely destroyed in a debate about Romero by Savva.
No, not at all. You know you wouldn't. Listen, you obviously had a long day, Savva, to come out with something like that. And it's banter, isn't it? So.
I'm just going to watch the tennis.
Okay. See ya. So yeah. So yeah. So here we are. Romero's back in the news again.
Well, the reason it won't go away, Lubo, is because in the last 24, 48 hours, we've been linked with both Scalvini and De Winter. And there must be a reason.
Players. Yeah.
Plus we're signing Takai. You've got to ask the question, why? Now, for me, I think it makes sense, William, with centre halves when you look at the records we've had at the back in the last 2 years. I think the last 2 years has shown we need centre halves and we need some fit players. But everyone seems to love Romero and think that he can be fit for 38 games a year.
Well, I think the first 2 seasons he missed a few. I mean, not this season just gone. The previous season he played in 34 out of 41, and he missed 20. He played 26 out of 60 this year, and he missed 24. Most of them unnecessarily because of Ange. It was just crackers what he did by throwing him in against Chelsea. So, if he'd have come away and he'd have missed 7 or 8 this season out of 60, and you'd have been looking at it saying, well, he's played 86 out of 100, it wouldn't have been a bad. Nobody would be talking about Romero being injured that much under Ange. What
about the rest of? But I always ask this: what about the rest of his career, Lolo? But I've got his career in front of me right now. This is the guy that's played. He's played over 40 games in his career once, once. Top players at big clubs, they play 60 games a year, 50 games a year. Sure. This guy can't seem to do it.
He's obviously, listen, he must have some sort of injury weakness somewhere if he's missing that amount of games. The shame is that he is so good when he's on it. He's one of the best around. And if Frank plays him in the right way, and they don't take stupid risks with injuries, and Mickey's come back from this trip to America before the last few European games, and if he's running differently and putting less stress on the hamstring muscles, and obviously if Frank's not going to play this high line that Ange played, Mickey's not going to have the same amount of recovery runs, so that's going to cut down on the chances of a hamstring injury.
Can I ask you then, Lubo, before we move on, Van de Ven, right? I'm really interested here to talk about Van de Ven, because is there a bit where we all think? I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying that this is fact. I'm just asking a question. Mm-hmm. Do we all maybe think Van de Ven's a little bit better than he is at this stage, purely because what we've seen is his recovery pace get us out of trouble time and time again? Now we've actually got a manager that won't do absolutely idiotic tactics. Mm-hmm. Is Van de Ven a great centre half? And he could be, but I know he's shit in the air. I'm interested to see, is he being made out to be better than he is because of the pace and the recoveries he's made for us?
Well, the way Ange played with the high line meant that Mickey had to go on recovery runs, and when you're the fastest player in the Premier League, you're going to look the dogs, aren't you? Because you're going to sprint back. You're going to beat everybody to every ball, pretty much. Can he defend in a back? Can he defend in a lower block? I think we'll find out, won't we? I think Ange played to his strength, pretty much, which also played to his weakness because of his hamstrings. So it was a bit of a bittersweet way of playing for Van de Ven. Would he be good enough? Listen, he plays for his national team. He is a good player. How good he is, I think we'll find out. In a team that's properly drilled, properly coached, all of these players are going to improve. Mm-hmm. So for me, and I also think you look at the amount of centre backs we've got at the club now. It's got to be that Frank's looking to play 3 at the back. Because if you play 3 at the back, then you need 6 or 7, don't you? Mm. So yeah.
Let me ask the panel on that. But by the way, I wasn't saying that Van de Ven isn't a good centre half. That wasn't my point. My point was I just want to see him playing it's very weird, right? Because we've had the last 2 years of utter chaos at the back, right? Utter chaos. Now we're going to have a manager that comes and brings some order and some structure and some actual shape. I want to see how good these players are. I want to see how good is he. And by the way, if Romero signs a new contract, I don't talk about Romero anymore. Mm-hmm. My thing about Romero has always been, if he don't want to be here, why do I have to give him the praise that so many people are giving him? I don't think he wants to be here. Why do I, as a Spurs fan, have to give him that praise if he doesn't play? That's
Fair
only
enough.
my point.
So before
Can I have
the
a say on
panel comes-
Romero quickly before you move on, Savva? Just one more thing when you're ready.
Shoot.
Can I? Is that all right? Can I
Go on,
jump in
Dan.
about Romero?
Go on, Dan.
Yeah, I just think if he goes, he goes. I think we've had better centre backs than him in the past, more consistent centre backs. I think with Frank there, I think he'll get more out the likes of Radu and Danso with a better system, better setup. I don't think, if you know there's players in the past that you lose and you think, oh no, I don't think it's going to be any kind of massive loss there. I think that Frank can get that defence in shape with what we've got. Oh, of course, in Dream World, we'd love to go out and buy one of the best centre backs in world football, but I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. But so with me, it won't be any love lost if Romero moves on. I think that, guys on the panel, you've made some fantastic points about Romero. On his day, he's fantastic. But the problem is, we don't see that enough, do we? We don't see it enough.
Do you not think with Frank there? Do you not think that Romero will be much better? Yeah, much more consistent. And I've got to tell you how good. You look at Bilbao, you look at Bodo, you look at Frankfurt away. He was phenomenal. Without him, we wouldn't have won that Europa League.
I still don't think he'll be consistent, though, Ian. That's the thing I'm on about.
With Frank,
I don't think he will.
But Dan, Frank won't put up with inconsistency. If
Then
Romero's up
team.
down, he won't play him. He won't play him. He'll drop it.
So then he might as well go.
But it's the injuries, isn't it, man?
I don't think any of us are wrong, if I'm honest. I don't think we've all got points. I don't think any of us are wrong when it comes to Romero. He's top quality, but he is inconsistent. But I don't know if Luba agrees with this, but I wonder with Romero's inconsistencies, I wonder if that's down to frustration. Because he's let the rabbit out of the bag a couple times over the last 2 seasons about, the club not being ambitious enough. And I just wonder if his inconsistencies, because it only started really and truly about 2 years ago anyway. I do wonder if the inconsistencies are maybe down to frustration. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
If he doesn't want to be here either, then he's got to go.
We'll move on from Romero, guys. Honestly, we've had better centre backs than him over the past years.
But Dan, he is. If Frank can get a consistent game out of him, then that will be absolutely brilliant for us.
I think that's a good point, Ian. I think that's a good point. Sorry, Dan. Just quickly, one more thing: is the injuries is the biggest concern. It's as well. It's not just the consistency; it's the injury record as well.
Sure, but do you know what, Dan? Dan, in Angie's first season, he missed 7, and you look at last season, he played every game up to Man City, which was he probably played 10 games on the spin, plus his Argentina.
3 or 4 of the games.
Sorry. No,
3 or 4 of the games.
Yeah, no, right.
World class don't do that. Not 3 or 4
but
games.
He came back after 2 weeks, and now I understand because. Now I understand that there's a UEFA rule or a FIFA rule saying that players have got to take 3 weeks off now. Because I'm just reading today that PSG, if they beat Real Madrid, is it in the final semi-final on Wednesday, then they will come back on the 3rd or 4th of August, which is 9-10 days before our game with them. So they'll be half cooked, and this will be our 5th or 6th. Pre-season friendly. Not that I think we're going to win either way. I'm saying that.
I haven't heard of it. I'm asking.
Yeah. PSG. FIFA have now got a rule in that players have got to take 3 weeks off, 3 weeks break after their team finishes in this Club World Cup.
Okay.
So if PSG make the final, if they beat Real Madrid on Wednesday, and they play, is it one of the Brazilian teams? I think, or Chelsea. I think it's
one or the other.
Yeah, on the 13th. Then once those players have played on the 13th, they are then they're on a break for 3 weeks. Now Romero last year only had 2 weeks, got thrown straight back. For me, again, I don't know why Ange played him against Leicester. There was absolutely, give the guy a rest, give him a break.
Chelsea.
He played. That's right. Well, he played in the Copa America, didn't he? Till July. Came back 2 weeks off and then straight back into training, which was just ridiculous. And Chelsea, he rushed him back. So the club, I don't think the club did Romero any favours. But before we move off onto your next subject, Sam, I just wanted to say that one thing that I took from Bilbao, and I know when you've got 10 men behind the ball, it's an easier situation than when the game's more fluid and you're not sitting so deep. But I thought the back four, for me, Porro and Udogie, showed that they can defend properly. I thought both of them had their best game defensively since both of them joined the club. I thought they were
but we've talked about this. I think there's a difference between sticking 10 men behind the ball and saying that they defended well and actually having a game plan where you're not 10 men behind the ball and asking players to do all their other normal jobs, plus be in the right position, plus defend, plus go forward. There's a huge difference. If I tell people I want 10 men behind the ball, your sole focus is anything coming this way. Now, if you ask them to go and play, would they have been out of position, all this sort of stuff? So for me, I've not seen enough from, I'll be honest, from Van der Ven, Porro and Udogie to tell me they're good defenders out and out. Van der Ven, I've got more hope for. Porro and Udogie, for me, I think Frank's got a lot of work. If they're going to be his fullbacks, I think he's got a lot of work on them on the defensive side of their game as opposed to their attacking side of their game. It's only my opinion.
Sure. Well, if you've got Romero or a Scalvini or a Da Vinci, and you've got Van der Ven, and you've got Danso, you've got Dragusin at Christmas coming back, you've got Vuskovic, who was at Spurs for the first day today. I understand that they were giving him a whole medical there, checking on his fitness today. You've got plenty of decent defenders there. I don't think,
I'll say one last thing, because I want to add to your point, Lubo, because I know you're a Romero guy. I want to ask you guys something. Romero, as we previously stated, right, has been in 3 finals, won all 3, and got man of the match in each time. My question to you guys is this: everybody, ourselves included, constantly speak about we must have winners in the squad, people that know how to win. Does that not also add to Romero's tally? Because I'm assuming we're all in agreements here. Romero is a winner, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think that is a very fair point. It's just he's not consistent enough as a player overall for me personally. I think that's a solid point. You're right. That is a fair point.
Do we also think, Dan? Do you also think that? And funny that this takes me back to my conversation last October with David Pleat when I asked him what he thought of the way Ange sets up, and he looked at me, rolled his eyes, and said, "Well, it leaves Cutie and Mickey an awful lot of ground to cover." So Romero and Van der Ven were left vulnerable. They were left wide open, weren't they? Where are the fullbacks? The fullbacks are up where Maddison and Johnson should be.
There was no defence. There was no defensive tactics. I agree with that. I do agree.
It looks a mess, and yes, of course, there were individual errors. Romero left Vardy on his own. He was to blame for the 2 goals, you could say, at Newcastle. But also the high line there with at Newcastle was to blame for that second goal, because you can't let players like Murphy and Isak run from the halfway line with your centre backs on the halfway line. It was just an amateurish goal to give away that won Newcastle the game. So I do think that Ange's system didn't do Romero or Mickey any favours at all. It didn't help. Porro and Udogie were out of position virtually all the time. And as Spence said in that interview with Rio Ferdinand, the players were performing to instructions. So I think if Frank will get a tune out of Romero and Van der Ven, I'm sure, and you'll soon see. Frank won't take any prisoners. He's there to win. This is his big opportunity. He's not going to mess about. If a player's not doing it for him, he'll bring someone else in.
Lubo, my issue, by the way, let me just say my Romero piece. My issue isn't whether or not Frank can get a tune out of Romero consistently. My issue is, does Romero want to be here? I've said that a million times, right? If you want to be here, let's get a contract sorted. Let's put that to bed. We don't have to worry about selling any of our centre halves. Brilliant. Frank, crack on with Romero. If he doesn't want to be here, though, I don't know. Maybe I'm old school, guys. I don't want players at my club that don't want to be here. And for me, there's too many signals with Romero that give me that worrying sign. And what I mean is, we said at the beginning of the show earlier, guys, and people go, oh, when everyone thinks they know who's got an attitude and who's got this. And if we were signing a player that had all the attributes Romero shown at Tottenham this season, we'd all be sitting there going, oh, don't like that attitude. He downs tools, or he says bad things in the press. He's not good with the media. But because he's our player, we're going, oh, no, he's brilliant. He's class. For me, I think he needs to cut that shit out. I think he needs to stop talking about the medical team. Stop talking about wanting a player in La Liga. If you want to be at Spurs, sign a contract. All of this goes away, right? All of this goes away.
Well, we'll know about that. Sav, Romero will come back because he'll come back. He'll come back to the club. Frank, I'm sure, will sit down and speak to him, and he'll say to him, "What do you want to do?" And if he wants to go, then listen. It's at the end of the day. I'm sure if Atletico Madrid put up the money that Levy will accept, then I would expect Romero to go.
Ian, would you be disappointed if he's gone?
Yes, I will be. Yes, I will be. Yes, because I think he's, the way his control on the ball, the way he passes through the lines, I think are absolutely excellent. And we don't have another centre back that can play like that.
I mean, depending how we play as well, Ian. Yeah, if we play with four at the back, how do you think he's going to play the back two? Do you think he'll play one as a no-nonsense centre-back and the other as a ball-playing defender? Will he try and do what Ange did, which I very doubt, is play both of them as ball-playing defenders? Or what way do you think it'll go? I mean, we don't even know if he's going to play 3 or 4 at the back, whatever. We just don't know the system as such.
We don't. If he plays 3 at the back and Romero stays, then I would expect... I would expect Romero to probably play central with Danso on the right and Mickey on the left.
But I would have thought the central one is the no-nonsense centre-back, not the ball.
Yeah, Danso would be the centre, wouldn't he? He'd head everything and let Romero and...
Or even Dragusin.
Yeah, Dragusin would be a good shout.
For a no-nonsense centre-back, that is what I think you see the best out of Dragusin as such.
Yeah.
Dan, do you think... So all of you, do you think, while we're talking about the centre-halves, I think people have gone way too early in judging Dragusin and Danso. I feel like we're not realising. Sorry, I shouldn't have started that while I bit of chocolate in my mouth.
What badly?
Like we're not.
I mean, judging them badly as bad players.
You seen how much shit I eat when I'm on stream? It's lucky I'm skinny. Isn't it mad though, right, guys? Like we signed Dragusin, we signed Danso. These are no nonsense centre backs. These are centre backs. They're not pretty on the ball. Haven't got sexy names that are going to sell shirts. But you know what they do? They defend. You don't have to tell them for the passion. You don't have to tell them to mark their man. But what we've seen is we've seen both of them playing in this ridiculous high line, getting caught out the back, and we go, oh, they're nowhere as good as the others. And you're like, well, yeah, but that's not their game. Because what I saw at the end of the season, Danso is the best centre-back at the club by a mile in the air. In the air, Danso is absolutely brilliant. He will throw himself in front of everything. Yeah, he's not the most graceful footballer on the ball. He's not the worst.
He's a no-nonsense centre-back. That's what he is.
We've judged both of them, Dan. We've judged both of those players by Ange's kamikaze.
Of course.
If you go and watch Dragusin when he was in Italy, he played basically as a no-nonsense centre-back. He might press the ball a little bit forward, but the main time he always came forward without fail was on a corner because he's bloody solid in the air. Like, very good in the air as such. And again, it's how you want to play him. If you're playing either one of them two, they're not ball-playing defenders. They're not skillful defenders. No. They're an old-school John Terry, Tony Adams sort of style. Now, I'm not saying as good as that, but that's the sort of player they are. I mean,
how does Frank play, Dan? Does Frank play with a ball-playing defender that comes out and spreads play? Asking for a friend.
You'd have thought you play one of them to do... If you're going to have something like that, I thought... if I had to play with 2 at the back, I'd play one of them as more ball-playing defender and one of them as a just no-nonsense centre-back. I mean, the way I would play football personally, I'd have 3 at the back. You all know that. But having 2 ball-playing defenders at the back, I just don't think it's a good idea unless they're actually brilliant defenders overall as such. Because you need one of them to be willing to put his life in front of the line, basically, to an extent.
Well, that's what they did in
solid
Bilbao.
in the air. Yeah,
Dan, wasn't
in 2 games, Bilbao and Eintracht Frankfurt. Yeah, I give it that one. But 2 games don't make up for like 30.
No, you're right. You're right. They should be doing it in every game, shouldn't they?
And so, I mean, an ideal one for Danzo or Dragusin is with 3, as far as I'm concerned. Dragusin played with 2 at the back and also 3 at the back in Italy, if I remember right. I'd only seen him play a couple of times. The mad thing was, I actually see him play a whole game and thought he was the best player in the game about a week or 2 before we bought him, and that was when he played against Inter Milan and done them in the air. I didn't even know that he was coming to Spurs, and I thought, good player. It's just, again, it all comes down to the tactics on how you play a player and what you use and to what they're best at. So if we're going to use a no-nonsense centre-back and a ball-playing defender, then it just depends on what one you're going to play as the ball-playing defender, Van de Ven or Romero. And then either Danso or Dragusin has to play as the other.
But, Dan, the beauty with any of those 3 from 4 is that Romero and Van de Ven, you would think, would be the first 2 that would be on the team sheet, with either Danso or Dragusin or Vuskovic, depending on how good he is, coming in as a third centre-back. Now, I've not seen much of Vuskovic, so I can't comment. But as far as Danso and Dragusin are concerned, they've both got different skill sets to Romero and Van de Ven, which is why it's so good. Dragusin's fabulous in the air.
Brilliant.
I mean, isn't he?
So's Danso. Yeah. They're 2 different players, Ian. This is what I'm saying. They're 2 different types of players. It's like when you have an out-and-out winger and an inside forward, basically. Usually the inside one isn't the best crosser, but a better shot. The one who plays on the outside all the time is definitely the better crosser and passer than he is at taking the shot. It all depends on what tactic, what style we're going to want them to play.
The problems we have are not at the back in terms of personnel. For me,
I agree.
For me, goalkeeper, back and back 4 or back 5, whichever way you play it. And you also got Spence alongside Porro and Udogie as well that can play. I mean, Spence could play right back, left back, or wing back. I think Spence is very, very good. I think Ange just completely demoralised him towards the end of the season because he had 3 great months with us and then got dropped as soon as Udogie was fit. And obviously it's going to knock him back. He's only a human being, particularly after the way he got treated early in the season when he got left out of the European squad and then got taken to Coventry and got stuck on the bench. And thank God he came on because he kept us in the tournament, didn't he? But I think the defence is our strongest part of the team. It really is. They've got to concentrate on midfield and up front with this transfer window.
But the whole conversation started with that Winter bloke, didn't it, Savva? That's how it all started about the centre-back talk. We're linked to another centre-back. I mean, I don't know.
He looks good, Dan. I'll be honest. I've watched 3 or 4 different videos of him. He's my type of centre-half. And you know why?
Is he good on the ball?
He looks very composed on the ball. It looks like when he brings it out, he's not afraid to sidestep his man and drive into midfield. What I like more than anything is I've watched 4 videos on him in the last 2 days. In all the videos, his defending, he doesn't dive in. He's not rash. He does not dive in. He is very happy to have the foot race, and he's also very happy to jockey his player. And I like defenders like that because I think, one of my biggest criticisms of Romero, he always feels like he has to dive in. And I think sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes you can jockey a man. Sometimes you can stand him up, hold him up, let your teammates come over and help you. Listen, I'd like to see De Winter play properly, but from what I've seen and from speaking to people who watch a lot of Italian football, hearing good stuff about him, just broken into the Belgium national team, good age, got a good bit of experience under him now. I think he looks a good footballer. That I could be proved completely wrong, but I don't see anything wrong with him. And he's 25 million euros. So
if you ever want good defenders, you do go look at Italy. It's what it's known for.
Yeah, of course.
All day long. Yep.
No, of course. Yeah, of course. But Alex, yeah, but we all know, Alex, if I say it's Sunday night, you find a way to tell me it's Monday night. I think every single point I've said, I look at the chat and you disagree with me on everything. That's where I know you're getting a bit silly. I love the debate, but I could literally turn around and say that these crisps are called frisps, and you'd find a way to tell me what they're called something else. It just gets a little bit boring, mate. I'm just a bit bored. Guys, so that's a centre-back option. Another player we have been linked with. We have been linked to a player that I really like, by the way. We've been linked with Robinson of Fulham. And for me, I think he's the complete left-sided player. For me, I would take him over Destiny Udogie in a heartbeat. I'm not saying we're
Is he the best in the league?
Huh?
Is he the best left back in the league?
One of. I think he does it all. He defends.
Yep.
He assists. He overlaps. He gets crosses in. He's got a brilliant engine. I can see what. I don't know how strong the links are, guys. Would anyone be against Robinson? I think he's a good player.
No, I wouldn't be against him. No, I like him.
Yeah, you could play Robinson and Udogie down the left together, couldn't you?
Does he absolutely take Udogie's place straight away?
Yeah, he's better than Udogie.
No, but Sav, you could play Udogie further up, couldn't you? Because for me, he's better going forward than going back.
More importantly for me, is to having another quality player in that position.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
This is for me. I think you need it. We're lacking on that left side, on that fullback.
I agree.
Yeah, we'll say Van der Ven can play there, but I'd rather have a natural left back who can attack and defend. And definitely competition for Udogie.
You know what, Dan? You're right, because if these guys, if Udogie played for City and City went and bought Robinson, everyone will say, "You look at City; they're strengthening their squad."
Yep.
I mean, again, to me, it comes down to style of play again. If we use those fullbacks, wing-backs, whatever way he's going to do it, as overlapping and taking on their man and getting past their man, I think you're going to see a very different player in Udogie. Watch how he played in Udinese that season, and then where he's had to play a different style over here that just ain't his way. I think Udogie is one there's a very high chance you will see a very different type of player of. If Frank even decides to play him, whatever else, only time will tell there. But Udogie was poor last season, same as several other players, because of the way he was told to play. Go and watch him at Udinese for the season, and he was one of the hottest ones in Italy, young ones.
But that was playing in a wing-back style, right?
Yeah, he played at fullback a lot of the time, but as overlapping wing-back, basically. He's defending is not his strong point. If you want your fullback, wing-back, whatever you're going to use as a defender as well, Spence is the better one to put there. But if you want your wing back as your sort of winger more going forward, I think Udogie, you'll see a very different player with him. But defending only strong points, same as Porro.
I hope so. But right now, if I gave you the option as a starting fullback, who would you have, Robinson or Udogie?
As a fullback in what, back four, Sav?
I just think Robinson's superior at everything.
As a defender, Robinson's. I mean, listen, he's one of the best fullbacks in the league. But to me, I think it'd be brilliant if you had Spence and Robinson at fullback and you had Porro and Udogie further up. I think they could create havoc. I really do.
Again, Ian, it all comes down to the tactics you want to use and the formation you're going to do. If you want your two fullbacks or wingbacks, whatever you're going to use them as, because I think a few people need to understand that a fullback and a wingback are two total different players, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't actually see that as such. And it's not because they don't understand it, they just don't.
But you know what, guys?
They just don't see it as that. If you want your fullbacks or wingbacks pressing forward, we have got two very good players there who can play that way. If you want them inverted, I don't know many that can play well inverted. If you actually just want them as fullbacks doing more defending than going forward, then Porro and Udogie are not the two people to be there.
But you know what, Dan? When have we ever had a strong squad where you're looking at players right the way across and you're looking at 16, 17, 18 strong players where you've got in 6 or 7 positions. If one's injured, you can tweak the tactics. Someone comes in, it's a seamless transition. There's no drop off. When have we've never had that? We'd never had that. You know, I remember. I remember the one time we could have gone top. The year Leicester won. He left out Walker and Rose, went to West Ham. If we'd have won that night in March, we'd have been top for the only time that season. And he played Trippier and Davis. We were missing Dembele through injury that night anyway. That unfortunately caused a problem in midfield. But he played Trippier and Davis, and you could see the drop off in levels. And you know, Poch never had. He lost Dembele, had no one to come in that night, and for some reason he changed the fullbacks. I didn't understand why. West Ham won that 1-0, and we never challenged Leicester from that moment onwards. So for me, I think it'd be fabulous if you had Spence Robinson, Porro Udogie. I mean, you got Danso Dragusin, Romero Vuskovic, Van der Ven. You know, all of a sudden you're looking at a squad there, aren't you? You're looking at strength in depth in those areas.
And Lubo, look at this is Anthony Robinson's heat map, and this is all I want from.
Good Lord!
Look, this is his heat map. This is what I want from a left. You know, when you look at heat maps of fullbacks, this is what I want to see. I don't want to see that there's red inside the middle of the pitch. Look how red it is everywhere on the left-hand side. Like, it's as red in the attacking half as it is in the defensive half. I really like him. I'm a huge fan. He's got 10 assists this season in the Premier League from left back. 6 the year before. So he's getting, you know, that's going up. I just think, for me, 27 years of age, Premier League experience, I think he's coming into his peak. For me, I really like him. And I've got listen, we might see better from Udogie. I get it. I think we will because of Frank. But if you offered me either of the two right now, I'm taking Robinson. For me, he's an athlete. He can defend. He can get forward. He's comfortable on the ball. He can cross. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't know. I don't know how doable it is. I'm just saying I think it's a no-brainer.
He's got to be 40-50, and he has to be 40-50 million, surely, considering his output.
I'm just having a look to see what his contract situation is. So Anthony Robinson at Fulham, because that will determine the price, right? Mm-hmm. So Anthony Robinson, so his contract ends in 2028. So he's got 3 years left. So he'd probably be 50 million, right?
No, listen, I think you can never have enough good players at the club. So for me, you know, if Levy is serious about wanting to win trophies, then he's got to make sure that the manager has the squad. It's as simple as that. Yeah, we can't be relying on 13 players, and if we hit a run of injuries, we've got problems. You know,
I'm just still trying to picture it. He's the Fulham player, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fulham.
Yeah, he's excellent. I've liked him for years. I think he's one of them that I watch and I go, yes, you're doing everything a fullback should do. There's no excuses. Like, have you noticed we've got a lot of players where we have to caveat, don't we? But this, but that. For me, he just gets on with it, up and down, all game. Whenever I watch him, I go, yeah, I'll have you. And I think we need some players like that. I'd take him all day long.
Let's shoot the conversation dead. Levy ain't spending 50 million on a left back. We all know it.
No, sure.
I'm sorry to say it.
Sure, there might be deals you do with player swaps and things like that. I don't know. I'm just saying there's been a few people mentioning it recently that Robinson is somebody that Frank likes. I don't know. I'm just chucking it out there. That's all I'm saying.
It'd be amazing. He's a hell of a left back.
His crossing can't be that bad. I mean, he's got the most assists of any fullback in the Premier League this season. It can't be too bad, can it? I mean, like, just saying. Lubo, I haven't got your take on this, so I'd like to know. We talked earlier in the show, and I don't want to cover old ground, but Kudus looks like this could be our first signing of the window. Looks like lots of the reports are now saying that he only wants Spurs and blah 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 blah. How quickly do you see Spurs getting this wrapped up, or will this be a typical Spurs deal that doesn't go through?
Well, if Kudus has actually come out and said that Spurs are the only team that he wants, then that makes Levy's hands stronger in terms of agreeing a fee. So he might get 5 million off the fee. I don't know. You know, West Ham might hold out. So I remember when West Ham, you know, that they dug their heels in with Declan Rice regarding the amount of payments a couple of years ago when Rice joined Arsenal. And Arsenal wanted to pay off over 5 payments, and West Ham said no, 2. And in the end, they got their way, and Rice sat there for 6 weeks waiting for it to be resolved, and West Ham dug their heels in. So they may dig their heels in, but I think they've got to move. Levy's got to get it sorted now. You know, let's move quickly. The guys are now coming back to training. Let's get it signed. Get Kudus at the club down in Midfield this week. You know, let's get it. Let's get him integrated. If he wants to join, get the boy in now.
It would be brilliant, wouldn't it, to have him ready for the first pre-season game?
For sure, absolutely.
And let's talk about that, guys. You know, a lot of, not just with Udogie, but Udogie, not just with Kudus, but Mikhail, big up to you, my man. Hope you're well. Absolutely. See, this is where I think Spurs should be if we want to be a top club. If we want to be a top club, we should stop talking about, like, I hate it when people use the word ceiling. I think it's utter nonsense. You don't know what a player's ceiling are unless you work with them every single day. I hate this. Oh, this guy's got the highest ceiling. How the fuck do you know? I'm sorry. If we're talking about, I hate to be that brash about it. If you're watching someone like Yamal, you go, wow, right, what's his ceiling? But when people are going, oh, I know Vuskovic, and Udogie's ceiling, cool. But how do you know that? But I completely agree. I completely agree with this, Mikhail. Guys, when football fans say things like, oh, I don't care as long as they get in by the end of the window, wouldn't it be great for once to have some of these first team signings in for all of pre-season so that Frank can work with these players and build partnerships in pre-season? You know, get the players, the other players in the squad used to playing with them. Does anyone go against that theory, or anyone agree with that theory?
Well, I think so. I'm going to shoot in a couple of minutes, but I just want to say that get Kudus done, then go and get Eze done. If Arsenal are looking at Rodrigo, they're not looking to buy Rodrigo and Eze. It'll be Rodrigo.
That's not what the reports are saying, Lubo. The reports are saying that all of these deals are different.
Well, let's see.
I love the way you're still holding on to Eze. I love this.
Why
are you holding on to Eze?
I just have a feeling that, you know, if Arsenal wanted it, how much can they spend? How much money have they got? How much, you know, they'll get nothing for Partey. How much money are they bringing in on player? You know,
well, they seem to be spending. They seem to be spending, right.
Mate. They don't seem to be getting any money in, though, do they? So
look, their finances aren't my concern.
I
think way too much we do this. We go, oh, well, Chelsea can't afford anyone else, and Arsenal. Listen, clubs spend. Like we know clubs spend, but why do you think he'll come to Spurs over Arsenal? Do you believe that if the offers were on the table?
I think if Arsenal are hesitating on Eze because they're looking at other players, then there is an opening there for Spurs to move. And Spurs can go in and say, look, we want you. We definitely want you. And if Spurs are a big club, get the Kudus deal done, get Eze in. I'm reading about a Douglas Luiz Basuma swap possibly with Juve. Get that done. That will be superb. Get Robinson. And then thank you very much. We're done. I think we're done. For me, that would be a fantastic window.
Yeah. So Lubo thinks we're getting in.
I'd like to see. I'm not saying I think we'll get them in, because listen, we've got 25 years of the way Levy deals in the transfer market to fall back on. But if you're saying to me what would be my perfect transfer window, get Kudus, Eze, Luiz, and Anthony Robinson. Then you got one hell of a window.
I'm not arguing with none of that either.
If that 4 came in, Kudus on the right, Eze as an attacking midfielder, Douglas Luiz in DM, and Anthony Robinson as left, I'd say that would be the best window I think I've seen in our Premier League era.
I think you'd call that a 10 out of 10 window, basically, by our standards.
Wouldn't be a bad one, would it?
By Spurs standards, that'd be a 12 out of 10 window.
Yeah.
We can dream. We can dream.
Guys, have a good evening.
You take care,
Enjoy
mate.
your holiday, mate.
Yeah, mate.
See you
man.
soon. Cheers.
Don't know
Sorry,
what
did
I think
someone
about
say?
Go on.
Oh, he can't find his phone. All right. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
going to say. I
Sean,
was going to say, Sean.
I just messaged you. Sean can't find his phone. He asked you to put the link on here for him.
All right. Let me find that link. Okay, I'll put it on here. Please, nobody join. Just Sean, please. Just Sean. God, you know some joker's going to try and join. Sean, the link's going in now, mate. So again, see people like Lubo. There are people that do genuinely think the Eze thing is still a possibility. But guys, we talked about left back. A DM is something we've got to talk about. And we say DM, but we know Frank normally plays with 2 8s, but midfielders that can do the defensive midfield job and box to box. This is fundamental, isn't it? This is we talked about this earlier, Danny, me and you, but we need some blood in that midfield, don't we? I feel like we've had Bentancur, Basuma, and Sarr for a few years now. Gray and Bergvall as kids. I feel like we need a real steady guy in there. The guy, the midfielder that comes in and runs the show. Am I being too harsh on our current defenders, midfielders?
No, you're not being harsh. We needed it last season. Before the start of last season, we needed it. We lost Holberg. I know he weren't the best player, but he brought experience in there, consistency, never got injured. We desperately need someone in that midfield. That is the next big signing. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves because we haven't even done Kudus yet, but 100%, man, we need somebody in there. Somebody. I don't know who though. I mean, there's Paulinho people talk about. There's Luiz. Is there somebody else out there? Maybe going under the radar that we're looking into. I hope so. There's definitely talent out there in that position. And let's just hope we bring someone damn good in.
Yeah. I mean, Ben, let me ask you. Midfield. What do you think? There's a lot of talk, isn't there, all season about Sarr, about Basuma, about Bentancur. Is the fact that we debate all of these a signal that we need a better midfielder, that we need one that we all go, that's our guy. That's the man.
Yes,
he's got to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, to put it in a blunt way, our midfield shot to shit. Listen, I've got huge hope for Bergvall and Archie Gray. I mean, Bergvall, I think, is our most improved player this year. He's been fantastic. But yeah, we definitely, I think, like you say, we need that big player, someone who is like the cornerstone of our midfield, that real driving force. And we don't have that. I mean, to be fair, at the same time, we also need it. It depends what formation we're playing. I know we've discussed this, it's difficult to guesstimate. But for me, more than anything, we really need a number 6. And out, I'm going to sit in front of the defence and I am going to look after them. In terms of who you could bring in, now I cannot pronounce this guy's name, but I don't know why. This is just me. I'm convinced that we're going to go and get this guy. So he is a centre defensive mid at Sporting Lisbon. He's Danish.
Hulmand.
What? Hulmand.
Hulmand, I believe it's pronounced. Right. Somebody might correct me. I think it is Hulmand of Sporting Lisbon. Mate, you're talking about.
If I'd attempted that, mate, you'd help me. I'd have butchered it. Yeah, that guy. I don't know why, but I have a funny feeling. There's absolutely nothing out there in a minute about it, but that guy would be perfect for Tottenham. But yeah, to answer your question, mate, yeah, the midfield really is shot, and it does need a big freshen up. So hopefully we can go and pick someone up. But keep your eye on that Hulmand. I've got a little. I don't know what it is. I've got a little feeling we might put in a cheeky bid for him, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one to go for. I'll tell you one.
By the way, someone typing. Is someone typing? I can just hear like somebody's tapping away. Sorry, I don't know what it is. Go on. Sorry, Dan.
I've been muting every time. I might have slipped once or twice.
I know you're right.
I'll tell you one who I do think would be worth a go. Not the sort of one I'd go for the facts in the aspect of if I go for a DM or someone who's going to cover that more defensive style, I'd rather go for someone who's like 27, 28, 29, someone who's got more experience, more built to them and that. But for the way we go for players, prefer the younger ones and that. One who I think would be worth a good look at is the young fella from Lazio. What's his name? Ravelia? Nicola Ravelia?
Ravella,
I
yeah.
think he's one we could seriously look at getting. And I think he'd suit the way that Tottenham seem to do things and the age they want to go for and everything else. I think he's a very good player.
Yeah. I mean, look, Sean, I'll bring you in here. You are the spokesperson for a number 6. You are I want a monster 6 more than anything, you know.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Sean.
Hello. Where, are you still everyone's saying it. I've heard that Thomas Frank wants a midfielder. We know how Thomas Frank plays. What sort of player do you think we'll get? I hear Heumann, I hear Richard Rios, people chucking in people like Ravella. What do you see as the type of midfielder that Thomas Frank will go for? And do you think that's what we'll get after Kudus? Fingers crossed.
No, I think the profile is going to be determined on what happens with Romero. I think if Romero leaves, I think Tottenham are going to look for a replacement for him that will possibly kill a couple of birds with one stone. Done a couple of profiles on some players today one of them I just finished a minute ago, that Giorgio Scalvini of Atalanta fame. He's a young guy, and Coney de Winter, but both of whom these players are like they're basically sixes that can play as a centre back. And I just think that it depends on what Thomas Frank's going to look to do, right? If he wants to play an Invoker back 3, then I don't think you need a monster 6 in the same style of a player that you would have had a 6 under Ange Postecoglou. I think under Ange Postecoglou's system, that gung-ho version of football, you needed to have a monster, a destroyer that would just get the ball back, then lay it off to Bentancur or Bergwijn to do something with. I'm not sure that's necessary. That same profile is not quite as necessary in a world where, you know, you might have a squad that's going to be utilised a little bit differently. If wing-backs are going to overlap and go on the outside, like I heard you just talking about Anthony Robinson, I mean, like, bring him in all day long. Right, he's so good. Obviously, I think Pedro Porro and Jess Spence and Destiny Doggy, I think all of those guys are going to really benefit from Thomas Frank. I really do, being played naturally. But if they do go to a system where they play in the back 3 more often, then you're not going to need a 6 at all. You're going to need, 2 midfielders that are more ball playing. There's a player out there that I think is, I think someone put it up. I'm not sure if they were talking about the same Palacios, but Ezequiel Palacios of Leverkusen, for me, would be. I think the best fit as a 6 that can do a little bit of both, that can adapt to the monster role if necessary, and then also just is a fantastic passer of the ball and can progress the ball with the passing or with the ball at his feet. I like Martin Hallman's as well, but Hallman's a little bit more of like that kind of the older school kind of old school destroyer that just gets the ball back and knocks it to the next person.
Yeah.
So it really depends on. We're not going to know this, right? We're not going to know this until we see what's happening, I guess, tomorrow when we start to see some footage. But I don't even know if we'll get any kind of takes. But I'm hoping Ali Gold or someone will be able to let us know what's going on at the training ground and whether or not we're practicing a lot more in certain guys or otherwise. But yeah, obviously, I still take Polino in a heartbeat. But I just don't think that he's necessarily as much of a need in a system that certainly has a back 3 that play. If we play the back 3 40% of the time, then I don't necessarily think that he's the right guy anymore. If we don't play a back 3 at all, or if you play it very rarely and we play a back 4, then I think you absolutely could still do with someone like him. But Ezequiel Palacios would be the best fit for me. But like I say, the guys that we're being linked with heavily, Coney de Winter, Scalvini today, even that Leone fellow who's a youngster, Pisilli, all these guys are like a proper like candidates that when you look at their stats, you look at their kind of scout reports, you can see the vision, you can see the reason why they make sense. For what it's worth, I genuinely think that next year, Tottenham Hotspur, if the scout reports have any relevance, if they have any truth behind them, all of the players that I've profiled over the last sort of 72 hours, all of them are monsters in the air and monsters at aerial discipline, positional strength, interceptions. They're not like necessarily ball playing, like crafty players that are like, really flary in their various positions, but they're fantastic at the art of sort of structure. And I just think that what Thomas Frank, if there's any truth to these leaks, if there is, so if there's not, then who cares? But if there is, my take is that Thomas Frank is looking for those needle moving percentage points of how do you get the extra 30 points that we're looking for to go from 17th to 5th. And I think he's identified set piece vulnerability as a massive area for weakness. And I think
that's been a massive problem we've had for a couple of seasons, isn't it? That we were saying in his first season problem. He should have sorted.
And a huge area
minimal this season.
It wasn't that bad this season, but I don't think that was necessarily because we fixed it. I think it was because that we just went in this like the opposition didn't attack it as much for whatever reason. But I think that if you look at Arsenal, how many
we've done man-to-man marking instead of what's it called? Zonal marking. Yeah, he went more to a man-to-man and just played one or two off the post. That's what made it better. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's right. Yeah, no worries. I think if you look at like Arsenal, how many times did the camera pivot to the Arsenal set piece guy rather than Arteta?
True.
All the time, right? He was like the hero. He was the sideline guru. And how many goals did they score from set pieces? Like Gabriel, Saliba knocking in tight games. They're going. I think that we are going to be incredibly better, incredibly more proficient at defending them and at attacking them. And I think that when you look at the people that we're linked with, like I say, Scalini, De Winter, for example, Leone, you look at all these guys, you look at the people that we're looking at in the midfield, and you look at people we're looking at the top end, all you can see, the consistent theme is aerial prowess. And I think that is it's going to be something that will hopefully make a big difference next season.
I mean, guys, listen, good breakdown. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. I mean, when you look at it, guys, he makes a really good point about the number 6, whether the monster 6 was definitely needed, but never implemented in an Ange system. But we all know that even if Frank plays a 3 at the back or a 4 at the back, he tends to have a double pivot in midfield. He tends to have the 2 8s. And forgive me, I hate the term double pivot, but it is a thing now. So for me, I think we're not going to see so much of a number 6. I think we're going to see more of a box-to-box, but a midfielder who is happy in the tackle, happy in the air, happy moving forward. I actually think Pasili of Roma is a good option from the players you said there. Richard Rios is a name that is being bandied about Europe. 100%. Everyone's talking about Richard Rios. Yep. De Winter, again, he's another one. When I watched him the other day, there was a lot of times he was at centre half, but a lot of times when he was sitting in front of the back 4 and making things happen. So, guys, are we looking at a different type now? Have we all been craving the 6 and we need to move on because the 6 was needed for Ange's tactics, but now for Frank, it's more of the 8 that we need?
It could well be. Like I've repeated it 100 times, and I think you all agree with me. It just where we don't know what formation and system we're going to play, but we know he's more than capable of having 3 or 4 different formations that he's willing to play a team with. It's very hard to pick it. With Angie's style, we did not play with a DM end of. The closest we did was box to box and tried to use him as everything, not just bloody one thing. But we have not got one player in that midfield who is a solid box to box, also DM at the same time as well. And with the way Ange played, we just screamed for it so much because there was just no support of that defence. But even if we would have played with a DM, it'd have been sitting on the half line with the other 2 anyway. Yeah. So would it have even mattered?
We'd have a DM who played as a number 10. Yeah, it's just
you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it needs to be sorted, guys. I'll be honest. When I look at the midfield options right now, there's no 2 players, no combination of 2 where I go, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like Bergvall, interested to see what he develops into, interested to see what position he's given, because whilst I'd say, yeah, he's a good player, I still don't know what he is. No one can tell me they know, because under Ange, he was playing everywhere. Like, he was just running about everywhere, wasn't he? Driving foot. It was like, so yeah, I like Bergvall. Bentancur's decent. Basuma on his day is decent. Gray, I'm not going to get into an Archie Gray conversation. And then Sarr, we don't know what he is. So for me, I don't know. Am I harsh, guys? Is there any combination that you guys look at and think, well, we've already got it at the club, we don't need to buy it?
I just think quality, guys. Quality. That's what we need. Whatever type of midfielder it is. And I definitely agree with Sean what says. Set pieces, Frank likes a strong, big team, right? Height, discipline, somebody who's a presence in that midfield. And look, technically good, of course, but you're looking at a lot of money, aren't you, to get it all? But I definitely think we just need to up the level of quality in that midfield, and I think that will help those ones that we already have in the team to improve their game and hopefully their consistency. So look, I think it's crucial, guys. I mean, just everybody's take. If we don't get anybody in that position going into the new season, how would you feel?
Our best, the best player we've got in a dead ball situation, basically, whether it's corner or a free kick into the box, is hands down by a million miles Dragusin. But he don't even play. He's about the only one I think we've got that is solid in a dead ball situation for a ball coming in. I don't really see no one else in that team who you would say, maybe Danzo, but who is actually good.
Danzo's a beast.
Yeah. Apart from them two, who else would you say is actually good in a dead ball situation, depending what sort of dead ball situation you want to use? I wouldn't say he's quality. I'd say he's all right, but I wouldn't say he's quality. Dragusin is much better in the air, but Richarlison, I do agree, his stronger point is in the air.
I said this on a video I just recorded. I actually think that Richarlison might get a reprieve here. I think I think he actually might get another crack at the gig.
Really?
As much as I don't want him. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's not a good enough footballer, and I think that Tottenham had to adapt to him. I think that when he played, Tottenham, Ange Postecoglou made the entire team set up to play to his strengths because he couldn't do, anything else. He's not very good at the ball at his feet, so to speak. And Solanke was a victim of his own versatility and the fact that he's a bit of a sort of sacrificial lamb. But just thinking about, as I've been sort of chewing this over and thinking that actually Thomas Frankie is a dead ball guy. He likes to be really tight on the areas where there's margins. I actually think that the Richarlison, if he doesn't go, I think obviously apparently the offer's there for him to leave if he wants to go. I don't think he will. I think he wants to stay, and if he can stay fit, I think he might actually have he might actually have his best season at Tottenham next season, because I think the way that we play might actually suit him a little bit better. I don't like it. I'd rather he go and be bringing someone else that's better at the things that he's good at, and also better at the things that he's not good at. But Tottenham don't seem to be that active in the transfer market, so.
Do you think fitness is an issue there, Sean and everyone else said? I mean, look, for me, I think my biggest issue with the strikers that we've assembled is we've not got anyone nimble in there. We've not got anyone that's got the pace. We've not got anyone quick that can get in behind. We've not got anyone that's the goal scorer, the poacher. I think Solanke's got his skill set. I think, Richarlison's got his. Don't you feel like we just need, and I agree with you, Sean, I've got a feeling as well that I think he will get a reprieve. But don't you just feel like we need, if a Richie goes out, that we need, like when we were linked with Calamundo, for example, just somebody who's a bit smaller, a bit nippy, bit quick round the box, that kind of, let me get it out of my feet and get a shot away. Don't we need?
I'd love someone like him, but not Calamundo. I'd love Mikotadze.
Oh, I'd said him earlier in the show. Can play left, can play centrally. Yeah. I think that's a no-brainer, isn't it? Leon are in a mess. That is a no-brainer for me.
I think it all depends on their court appearance. They got a court appearance that they basically already said to UEFA, if we lose our appeal to not be relegated, then we'll walk away from Europe. Mm-hmm. But if we win our appeal, then we'll play. But then winning their appeal also leads to them to massive financial issues. So there's PSG did them a favour, paying off the remainder of the Bradley Barcola deal that they were owed, the debt on that transfer. I mean, John Textor, bless him, took a massive deficit on the mat. Like he got undercut huge by the Jets guy, Woody Johnson, I think his name is, who bought 40% of Crystal Palace for like 190 million quid, which values Crystal Palace at 400 million, but their squad's worth 400 million, let alone the stadium and the European, all that stuff. So like John Tex has done everything he can. He's put most of that money into Lyon to try and get them out of trouble, but whether or not that's enough. But yeah, either way, if Mikotadze is available, yeah, you're 100%, go and get that done. But I'm sure there'll be a queue of people that would want him on the cheap. He's a fantastic player.
Yeah,
Savva, I've got to jump, man. Savva, I've got to go, man. Yeah,
Dan,
big up
care,
everyone.
Bro. Thank you very much.
Everyone on the panel, big up everyone in the chat. Yes, please sub to Savva, hit the like button and all of that. Good night. Take care.
Good night. Take care, man. Just quickly before we move on, I've got a couple of super chats and then I'll bring Ben back in. Guys, what I will say is we're now 39 subs away from 19,000. 39. Surely there's a couple of hidden gems out there that haven't subscribed. The link is in the chat and it is pinned as well. And also, please subscribe to the Hotspur Hood. Please subscribe to the Spurs Talk Show if you haven't subscribed to those shows, and follow Ben at TotDoc on X. Just quickly with the super chats, big up to Phil Randall, very generous super sticker. Really appreciate that, Philip. Thank you very much. You've always been very generous to me as well. So really appreciate you, my man. That is very, very generous. Thank you for that. Cat Funt. I always put massive emphasis on the cat Funt, just in case. Becomes a YouTube member. Big up to you. Thank you very much. Watch out for the channel member only shows once a week. This week it will be either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It won't be Tuesday. I'm doing some filming with the Sun. I've got a debate with a West Ham fan on Tuesday for the Sun. That should be fun. Big up to you. Thank you very much. Mark Swift joined in the Super Sticker game. We love a Super Sticker. The Super Sticker train. Let's see if we can get that.
I like this. I like this. The way you've worded that. It's very clever, mate. I was listening to you earlier. Yeah. If everyone puts in, if everyone puts in a pound, then
I'll be rich.
Clever.
It wasn't actually me that coined it, but yeah, it's quite interesting. Big up, Mark. Always very generous to me as well. So thank you very much. Big up to Faz Radfar, who said, "Big up. Can you see Kudus Eze as a double signing?" Look, I think we talked about this a lot tonight.
Yeah.
I've said, I think the moment Arsenal bid, it's done. That's what I've said. I've said that all the way along. I think the only way you get Eze now is if the Arsenal thing doesn't happen. I can't see why it won't. I think lots of Spurs fans are saying things in hope rather than expectation, i.e., they've called their interest on him now because they're going for him. But the Ornsteins and the Romanos are saying they want this, this, and this, and none of the deals actually
overlap,
interlinked. Yeah. So we'll see. If he goes to Arsenal, which I'm expecting, fair play to the lad. And I would say good luck, but I won't because it's Arsenal. If we get him as well, Daniel Levy pulls off Kudus and Eze, I'm very excited about watching Tottenham next season. So I'd love you to be right, Faz. I'd love it. I can't see it. Happily be wrong. Clip this. I will happily be wrong, and we get both of them over the line. Big up to you, Faz. Terry Windows. Oh, Terry Tibbs. Windows, wooden ladders. I said, couldn't even have VDV as a left back. I mean, it's an option, isn't it? We know that he plays there for the Netherlands sometimes.
Dutch under 21s, he done it a lot, and captain them while doing it.
He did. My problem with having Van der Ven as a left back is all of that getting up and down the channel. For me, his hamstrings, I don't know. I just feel like we would more often than not be needing to play another left back. So I think it's an option, but I see it as more of a last resort than anything. But it is an option. And big up to Daniel Field, who's put in another super sticker. Very, very generous of you. Thank you to the two people that just subscribed. We're now only 38 away from 19,000. Big up to you lot. Guys, can't even remember the question. Ben, I don't know your take on this. Our striker situation, we went and got Richarlison for 55, whatever it was. Then we went and got Solanke for 57. People talking about wanting Brennan Johnson to possibly play up there, and could Sonny possibly play there? Are you happy with our striker options, or do you think we need some new life in there? Do you think we need a bit of energy, a bit of buzz, a Jermaine? That's the one I hear a lot, a Jermaine Defoe type.
Oh, do you know what? He's my favourite Spurs player of all time. I know that's a bit tragic, but yeah.
No, I love Jermaine. Love Jermaine. Great player.
Absolutely loved him. Met him once. Really nice guy. Right. So to be honest with you, if I go on to Richie first, I think Richie was a big fish in a small pond. Both clubs, Everton and Watford. And I think, Spurs, it might sound a little bit arrogant. I think it's a bit out of his depth because you expect a lot from someone who's worth 60 million, essentially. So with Richie, and I listened to Sean's point, and I always tend to agree with Sean. But with Richie, I think he's had his chance, and bless him. I know he works hard. I know he tries hard for the team, but his injury issues as well. I think it's time to go. So in all honesty, I believe he needs to be replaced. Solanke is an absolute Trojan workhorse. You can never ever fault the guy. In terms of his output, I mean, it's certainly not the best. He's flattered to deceive a little bit. However, I definitely think we need it. Exactly like you were saying, we need that nimble, nippy little bastard who you can throw in, let's say 60, 70 minutes, and you can feed the ball into him and he can make something happen. We just don't have that at the club at the minute. So to answer your question, I feel like we need a bit of a freshen up. Maybe get Richie out and bring someone else in, someone new in, someone that gets us off our seat a little bit and can offer something more than what Solanke and Richarlison can. Because the thing is, really and truly, Solanke and Richarlison are quite similar. I mean, not exactly, but we don't have. There's not a great deal difference between the two. And as you said, I think we need a more nimble, nippy kind, like an Aguero. I mean, obviously, not.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, cool, yeah.
So yeah, Miles would be. Yeah, we definitely need a freshen up, mate.
Just quickly, by the way, Andy Lester just said, Sean, did you get my super sticker Friday night? You didn't call it out. If you didn't, I got charged for it, and I'll get in touch with Google if you didn't. I'll leave you to have a look into that, Sean. But just to make you aware that I have seen this, and Andy,
sorry, Andy. I think I might have seen it after the show ended, but I think it happened within the last couple of seconds. I do apologise, my man. Next time you come on the show and I see your comment, if you put in an emoji or something, I will bring it up as though it was a super sticker. I'm very apologetic, mate. Sometimes the show can finish without necessarily seeing the last one. If that's the case, I do apologise. But I don't actually ever see the super stickers, by the way. I think none of us do, because they don't come through on the StreamYard. But I see the super chat. So if it did happen, mate, I'm very apologetic. But thank you for the super chat. Or the super sticker.
Yeah, big up. Alex saying, you think Arsenal spending 200 million on Gyökeres, Zubimendi, Kepa, Madueke plus 7 million on Ezek? Listen, I don't know Arsenal's finances. I don't know. All we know is that they bought in Berta, who promised them a big window, and they're having a big window, right? They are making moves. They're buying. Look, listen, as far as we can see tonight, Gyökeres apparently, to get the deal over the line, has foregone monies that Sporting owe him. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but apparently they owe him money. He said, don't worry about it, so that he can get his move to Arsenal. They've already got in Zubimendi as a backup keeper. I don't know. Do they stop there? Do they keep going? I don't know. But if they do, can't knock their ambition. I can't knock it. In terms of Solanke, guys, I mean, it's interesting. Big up, Connor. Big up to you as well, man.
Hello, mate.
In terms of Solanke, look, I think Sean and Dan know this very well. I'm not his biggest fan. I've never been his biggest fan. What I do concede, though, is that I don't think that Ange helped that in any way, shape, or form. What I want to see, and I'm going to ask you lot on this, I just want to see Solanke playing closer to goal. I don't listen. I love that somebody's got work rate. I love that what you call the Trojan horse. I love that, but I think if you're set up properly as a team, your striker doesn't need to be running around like headless chicken. What do you guys feel about this? How many goals can he get out of him? Do you agree with me that he needs to get him closer to the penalty area rather than on the halfway line, tracking back and putting in the yards?
With the way I think we might play, I think he's definitely the one you could sort of use him as more of a Trojan horse in the box sort of thing. And I said as well, I do not rate Solanke. I think he's an average player at best. And I think we need significantly better there. Same as Richarlison, very average player at his best. But I also do believe that, again, change the system, play to the player's advantage, a better coach like we've got, you will see a better player out of him. But me personally, I would still get rid of him and Richarlison and go for someone significantly better. I think even on his best day, you're getting from an average player to maybe a good player on the odd day. I don't rate him overall as a player. You can run about the box like a headless chicken.
How many league goals next year for you to change your mind on that? Because I've got a number for me, but how many league goals next year for you to change your mind on that?
If I go and see him score at least 15 league goals and say 5 or 6 in the cups overall, I'll change him from a bang average at best to maybe good if I can see it for a couple of seasons. I just really don't think he's a good player. I mean, it's all good being willing to run about.
As well.
If yeah, maybe. It's just I haven't really seen us with a great striker, a good striker even since Kane left. So maybe I'm even putting my standards too low myself. But I just really don't. You can be willing to run about like a headless chicken as much as you want. It doesn't mean you're going to succeed at anything. I mean,
do you think, Dan, that there's a chance that because of Harry Kane, that the standards that he set are so unbelievably high that they're unattainable?
Yeah,
totally. When you've had someone like Harry Kane there, you're not going to replace it. It's not going to happen unless you get a freak of nature there and get another world-class striker in there. It's not going to happen. So we have to an extent, I suppose, be that little bit willing to cut the level of player down because you just ain't going to get a player that good. But it doesn't mean I don't want to treat
every player on their own merit, mate. It's like if you've got,
I get it.
9 out of 10 birds broke up with you and you're heartbroken, and then a lovely girl next door comes along and she's a solid 7, right? She cooks you a lovely meal. She makes sure your shirts are ironed, your underwear's washed, and everything. You know, if you're comparing her to the supermodel that did all that stuff as well, and she brought home the bacon, then you're always going to be a little bit disappointed.
I'm sorry. If she's rough and ragged around the edges and everything, I get it. And they say beggars can't be choosers, but I ain't a bloody beggar, so I'll choose what I want, and I ain't having a 7. I'm used to a 9.9. I've been married to one for 3 years, and I've been with her 11 years. So in that aspect, I ain't dropping my standards.
Sorry, just quickly, Ben. Yeah, listen, Dan, I agree with what you're saying, but I also want to meet in the middle of Sean's point and yours because
I do get his point.
When we're saying we don't want to drop our standards, I mean, after Harry Kane, I think we all acknowledge there isn't a striker in the world Tottenham are buying better than Harry Kane. Like,
and Tottenham have put a bit of weight in the last 5 years as well, right? We're not quite the same. We've lost a few hair follicles. We're thinning a little bit on top. We've got a bit of man boobs going on.
I'm not making the money I want 5 years ago. But Harry Kane, let's be fair, we don't buy Harry Kanes. We created a Harry Kane. And not many clubs in the world have a Harry Kane. So we have to, Dan, we're going to have to go down a level. But I do think with Solanke, we went down 2 or 3. That's my problem with it. I think there's much better. And people are talking about the likes of Vlahovic. You know, people are talking about Mikoadze. I do think there is better. And talking about better, look, I mean, you box office joining the panel. What more can you want?
It's all about to go off the Richter. Here we go. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Evening,
Mr.
Alex.
Box office to you, Sean. It's Mr. Box Office to you.
Did someone say hello? Anyway, moving on. Hello, Savva. How you doing? You did text me back though, bro. You don't text me back, bro, don't you? You don't text me back though. Bloody hell, have I done something wrong or something like that? Anyway, as you were.
What did you text me?
Hi, Alex.
Is someone talking to me? Anyway, moving on. So, as you were.
When did you text me?
Text you yesterday. But anyway, moving on. That's something private. Anyway, moving
on.
Alex.
Yeah. Hi, mate. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, okay? Is this the message where you slagged off Sean?
Oh, did I slag off Sean?
No, you didn't. No.
As you were. Sorry, I don't want to spoil the show.
I'm not going to stop until you acknowledge me.
Elliot, Ben, how you doing, Bob?
Hello, mate. How you doing, bud?
Hi, Alex. How you doing, buddy? You okay?
So,
it's someone talking to me.
Go on, Ben.
Can I just jump in about this Solanke thing, right?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Are we dismissing the fact that our boy did score 20 goals playing for Bournemouth? And this is his first season at Tottenham. So are we maybe being a bit harsh on Solanke?
I suppose, doesn't it depend what you want? Like, the way I looked at it is, yeah, he had that year where he got 19 goals in the Premier League for Solanke. But my problem was, and I think you all know I've been very consistent with this, I didn't want him when we got him because I looked and I went, he was 26 turning 27 last season, which means he's turning 28, if I'm not wrong, in September or something. I looked at his career and went, I don't know. They're just not enough goals. For me, I want a bit more mobility. I think for me, if Solanke's the guy coming off the bench as our second striker, I'm all over it. But I just think that for 57 million, whatever it was, I just felt, I thought then, I still think now, that there's better options with better scouting. But listen, I'll happily be proved wrong this year if Frank can get the best out of him. Happily.
He was talking about
that other
in the
point.
interview. Yeah,
It's
he
that
did
other
mention
point on what I
Solanke.
said earlier.
Yeah, he did.
Look at what I said earlier. Do we judge him? Do we judge? We're saying people are saying don't get Kudus because his last season was crap. But then a majority of us are sitting there will say, well, look how he's been over the past 5 years and he's had a bad season. Or do we judge Solanke in the aspect of his season before he came to us was good, but the 3 or 4 seasons before then, he's been average at his extreme best. As an overall player, I've seen him have one good season. And how old is he now?
He's 28, I believe, coming up.
And I've seen him.
28,
And I've seen him have one good season. One.
The problem is, Sav, we need someone to be pushing 20 Premier League goals if we're going to close the gap. So
Agreed.
someone has to, right? So if it's not Solanke, who is it?
But mate, I completely agree. I mean, they're talking about. I think the difficulty we've got now. I don't know what you guys think about Vlahovic. I've always been. I like Vlahovic, but I feel like there's something missing there. He's apparently going for 15, 20 million euros because Juventus are spending money left, right, and centre. Do we go and buy a player like that a year after having bought a 57 million pound striker? So I think the problem we've got now, Connor, is I think we backed ourselves into. We've now got Solanke, and that Solanke. Listen, I've resigned myself, guys. I don't know if any of you disagree. I've resigned myself to the fact that this guy will be our number 9. He will be our number 9 next season. Hence why I want the players around him to be players like Mikowadze, Kudus, Eze, whoever it may be. I want more goals chipped around him.
I think we can make him better, but I don't think he'll ever be very good. Is basically what I'm saying. I'll meet halfway with who's saying it and that. I just don't think he'll ever get better than good, basically. But I think we can make him better than what he was last season, same as practically every player.
Sean, you like Solanke, don't you?
Listen, and I can't say another word until Alex acknowledges me. So if you want me to contribute, I need Alex.
Alex, just acknowledge him.
Hello, Sean. Are we getting on with the show now?
Shut up, box office. What was the question, mate?
Solanke, you rate him, and everyone else in the chat, right? What
I like Solanke, mate. Yeah, I like Solanke. I've said before. I think he's he's a good player. Where I will meet you in the middle is I feel like if he is given the freedom to just be a striker, he might underwhelm relative to number 9 standards. But I think last season, he underwhelmed relative to standards set according to what's expected of a 9, because for the most part, he was playing a role that wasn't really like that. He was doing the Kyogo Furuhashi role. For what it's worth, that geezer went to Rennes, failed miserably, and he's now going somewhere else as of today. I forget where he's going. I think he's going to Birmingham. Kyogo Furuhashi. All the Tottenham fans were saying go and buy Furuhashi, right? He's now going to Birmingham. So who's just come up from the League One. So it's an interesting one. But no, I personally I think Solanke's a really good player. But I think if you give him the freedom to just be a number 9, I think he will disappoint relative to the standards that you set of a 9. But when you ask Dan what's a good season for him, I think, including assists, I think there'll still be some of them. I think if you can get if he gets 20 GA in the Premier League next year, that's a great season for any striker, no matter who they are. It might not be Aguero standards or Kane standards, but for the most part, 20 GA as a striker is, especially if 16 of them come from goals and 3 or 4 assists. And I think he's got that in him. But I don't necessarily. I'm not married to him. I'm not going to die on the hill that he's an incredible striker.
Yeah.
But look, last summer,
I'd like to see you marry Solanke.
Was a different price, right?
I'd like to see you marry Solanke and stream it live on your YouTube channel. I think that would be
We'd have very good-looking children if that was possible. I can imagine.
I think it'd be a really interesting concept. Yes, Solanke and Spurs culture.
In this day and age, anything's possible.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Look, it doesn't look like, from what I've heard, it is very much the right wing position and the central midfield that we're looking at. But I just don't think that will satisfy people. And I think a lot of it is going to have to do with whether Richie moves on. But can we talk about the players behind them, guys?
Can I quickly ask you a question? Just super quick. Sorry if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
If Solanke or Richarlison, one of those guys was to go, realistically, even though there's a lot of strikers, more strikers available in this market this year for realistic and not bad prices than in the last 2 or 3. Like, where do you realistically think Tottenham can? What pool do you think Tottenham can shop in for a striker? Are we talking like? I know people were like turning them, and I did it as well. Like Muniz from Fulham. You know, Muniz from Fulham has got a 40% conversion rate from shots to goals. So for every 10 shots he takes, 4 of them end up in the back of the net. Not shots on target.
Not bad.
Shots. It's better than it's 33% better than Erling Haaland.
How many shots does he take, though, Sean? I suppose.
Yeah, not many. He doesn't shoot too much. He's the guy. He's the guy who goes to the bar and he waits until he's got a sure thing, and then he goes, "I'm going to have a crack now."
He's 3 a.m. in the chicken shop, right? With a fat bird, isn't it? Yeah.
It's 3 a.m. in the morning. He's looking around, going, "Single? You single? You single? You'll do." I get what you mean though, Sean, because I've seen those links with Rodrigo Muniz, and I feel like it's one of those that, again, let me ask the panel: would that satisfy? And does that satisfy the itch? If Spurs went and bought Rodrigo Muniz tomorrow for
there'd be uproar.
45-50 million, what's the feeling going to be amongst the fan base?
It'll be exactly the same as if when Arsenal were about to sign Noni Madueke. I mean, what are we doing here? Right, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're moving from a 6 to a 6 or whatever you want to call it, right? But like for me, I just think that where do you realistically look for improvement? And I think there's certain players out there that are available that come with great brands that a lot of the fan base would go, yeah, this now we mean business, that would actually be fucking useless in the Premier League. Like I don't think Dusan Vlahovic is anything like the player that people attach him to at that standard at the Premier. He couldn't do it at Juve very, very well. So comes to the Premier League, faster game, half a second less on the touch. I don't think Dusan Vlahovic makes it. I think he'll do okay as like a Chris Wood replacement for Forest, but I don't think he's going to do very well in a team that likes to play a bit of football. So, but yet if Tottenham signed him, the fan base would be like, okay, cool, great solution. But I think it'd be a real major disappointment. I don't know where you go. We're not going to sign Osimhen, no chance. We're not going to sign Guaquez, obviously, he's going to Arsenal. You're not going to get Sesko. You're not going to get Ekitike. Like, where is it that Tottenham fans are going to be satisfied? I don't think we will.
Sean, do you think Ekitike is out of our reach?
9.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
Sorry, go on. Ben, just quickly, all I was saying was for Fulham in the Premier League, he's got 21 in 69. So what's that? One
every 3 games, just under
3.5, something like that. One every, yeah.
Savva?
Yeah, Dan, thanks, mate.
Mate. I'll catch up with you later. Cheers for having us on. Enjoy the night.
Thank you.
See you, mate.
Thanks, buddy. Take care. Yeah, sorry, Ben, go on, as you were, mate.
No, just a quick one. Do you really think, Sean, that Ekitike's out of our league now?
I think he's out of our price league.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think he's out of our league until he came from Frankfurt. But I think that Liverpool, look, I know as tragic as it is that we have to talk about this, but Liverpool were looking at what to do anyway with Darwin Núñez. They were thinking about what to do with Luis Diaz. Now they've lost Diogo Jota. They're going to have to go again in the market. Yeah. They're going to have to go again in the market. So they're going to now expedite a move for like someone, whoever it is. Manchester United, I was watching earlier Man United fans going into meltdown that they had DCL links.
I would love that.
That would be fantastic. It's like when you've got blue balls, right? You got your balls on the left and the right that are ready to go, but you're like impotent in the up the top end with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like you got the prettiest girl in the world, but you can't get it up. For me, I just think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is just an absolute bozo of a footballer. That's like I said before. If Tottenham were linked with him a couple of months or so ago, if Tottenham ended up signing Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that would be enough to make me go, leave me out. Like
What
that's
about
it.
Cunha and Buemo supplying Dominic Calvert-Lewin? It could United. They could go back to the treble winners of '99. That's
No chance.
Oh.
DCL would have more chances. He would be the guy that walks around with an 8-pack in like a convent or something, and he's not getting any action still.
Can I ask then, guys? Somebody's put this name. I know it's not going to happen, but for me, I'd be looking at the loan market if that's the case. And listen, I'm not saying this guy for reasons, but I think we need somebody of this ilk. Hear me out. I'm just saying, if I was going to loan, I'd take Rashford for a year on loan. Quick,
Tottenham
scores
won't go
goals.
south with them wages.
Well, no, sure. But I mean, look, I'm just without talking money, I'm just saying, just somebody of that ilk, that age, that experience,
to play him in the 9.
To play him off the left in the 9, just somebody that offers something different. Now, by all accounts, it looks like Barcelona have reignited their interest in him, but somebody like that, I think we need that ilk of football. Again, before people talk to me about attitude, I'm talking about the football. Yeah, I don't want to care about kids' meals and attitude. I think we need something like that, and that's why I don't think a Rodrigo Muniz is going to scratch the itch. I don't think that.
Could you ever see Daniel Levy going to Aston Villa and paying 50, 60 million to get Villa out of a hole for Ollie Watkins?
I mean,
how old is Watkins now?
If he did, I'd rate him if he did.
29, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, he's never going to happen. He's never going to go.
Well, he's linked with United as well, isn't he? Watkins now. That's the latest one.
He might end up there, Connor. You're right.
What about guys?
Hi, Connor. Hi, mate. I didn't really get a chance to say hello. Hi, Connor. Hi, Connor.
Hello, mate.
Doesn't see this? I don't know how much Brentford are probably hating the sight of us, but this for me is the sort of side I would love us to do this. This is what I meant earlier, the Defoe type. Quick, runs in behind, scores goals, getting better with every season. I can only imagine though how much Bournemouth might. I
think Brentford
might put on.
I genuinely think Brentford are not going to sell anyone else because I think that they're looking over their shoulder. I think so many clubs, including Bournemouth, are starting to have squeaky bum time. Bournemouth sold 4 of their big 5, and then suddenly they paid Semenyo whatever he wanted to sign a new contract because I think that there's generally this new rule where the 3 teams that go up go down. Right? There's no jeopardy in relegation anymore until Leeds and Sunderland and Burnley have stepped up and they've gone. We're having a crack here. Leeds have bought a couple. Leeds have got intentions to go big. Sunderland have made some really big inroads. Sunderland have gone after a couple of that Bruges player, mate. That Talby, is it?
Quality.
They got a guy,
Diarra
or something. Diarra, is it? Yeah. And then they've got 2 or 3 others coming in. Burnley have gone and got a fantastic signing in Kyle Walker. And Leeds obviously are making some moves as well, right? Like I just think that like this season is actually going to be interesting at the bottom end. I think that teams like West Ham, teams like Fulham, teams like Brentford, if they sell a few players, and I think Bournemouth might even get sucked into it because I don't see Bournemouth able to replace the players that they've sold because they might have raised 250 million quid or however much they've got from selling Huijsen and Sabanye and yada yada yada. But I don't think they can replace that quality all at once. And
no, because it all comes. It's the perfect storm with those players, Sean, isn't it? All of those players, they develop. Great season. Now they're going to have to go back to the develop
the drawing board. But if you sell one at a time, like what Brighton did, right? Sell Caicedo or Southampton selling Lavia. Like do it one at a time, but you've still got the conveyor belt. But if you've got a brilliant team that's doing something, and then 4 of that starting 11, include their entire backline has gone. Their entire backline has disappeared. I'm sure they can find a couple of goodies, but those guys have to acclimate to the Premier League, and they can't get everything right. No one gets everything right. So I just think it's going to be a fascinating kind of. I think the bottom end of the Premier League next year is going to be fascinating. I really do.
I think West Ham are in bother, you know.
Sorry, go on, Connor.
No, I was just saying that you to Sean's point. I think West Ham are in bother. They lose Kudus and they lose Paqueta, which it sounds like they're going to lose both. I think they could easily get dragged in. But yeah, on Vissa, I think, Sean, we spoke about this on your show a couple of weeks ago. For me, you know, that's probably where we should be aiming right now, given the club are going to give Solanke another year. I don't agree with it, but they are going to do that. And I think Vista gives you something, one, it gives you availability over a Richarlison, say, but I also think it gives you, I think he's a better player. And he was spoken about in January, wasn't he? Before Frank came, even he was linked with Spurs, Forest, West Ham. So maybe it's one that can be done. I think he's only going to be 35 million or something they were talking about before.
Well, I think Brentford would sort of just reject a lot of bids outright, because I think that the market is not like, you can't, like Brentford. I think, like, what's the risk of relegation for Brentford? Losing Mbumo, who scored them 23 goals last season. Vissa got, I think, 20 goals last season, but I think like 9 of them came from either direct assists or key passes from Mbumo. So like the two work hand in hand. You lose one, the other one doesn't work as well either. So I just I fear for Brentford a little bit, and I don't want to see them go down. I love Brentford. I think they're a lovely little club. I think they're a really, really, really good club. I don't want them to get sucked into it, but I do fear for them. West Ham, we'll take their last crowning jewel, and we'll see you in a couple of years, maybe, guys. You know.
So
I really hope that Sunderland's players, Sunderland have gone for it. Leeds are trying to go for it, and Burnley have started off as well. So I think that these 3 teams are making a real effort this time, and I think it's going to be a cracking season.
Sean, can I ask, with Wissa, do you think his age and style of play come in or a factor in signing him? Because he's going to be 29 this season.
Yeah.
I
think that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
When you get to 29 years old, if you're still banging in 20 goals, but you know that the general market appetite isn't to be buying 29-year-olds for like decent money, you're almost better off just holding on to them, because the valuation, the value is the output, not in the price tag.
Yeah.
But like, this goes back to this idea that I was saying this the other day. Like I think kind of you might have been on the show as well. I just think that this notion that everybody in world football seems to be catching on to this idea of like oversaturated youth talent. Everyone's got a fishing rod in that pool, and in so doing, you end up with a bidding war for like half decent 18-year-olds, like good but not great 19-year-olds. Let's all bid for it, and they end up going for no disrespect, Arden Jashwari, a great player, right? Great, he's going to be a great player, but 40 million euros Bruges want for him. 40 million euros. He's not worth 40 million euros. He hasn't done anything. No decent standard.
No.
Great player, but we'll see. But 40 million, and if the logic of no one wants to pay top money for a 24, 25, 26-year-old anymore because there's no sell-on value, then what is the point of paying double bubble for a 20-year-old if by the end of their contract, even if they have developed, which is a risk because the boulevard of broken dreams is littered with footballers that had high potential at 18, 19, 20 that then end up tailing off. Even if they do make it, even if they're the 1 in 10 that do make it, if no one's buying 25 or 26-year-olds in 5 years' time, then you're overpaying for people on the promise of like an asset appreciation that doesn't materialize because the market doesn't care about that in the future. So it's like the pendulum has gone so far the other way now.
It's crazy.
That you've lost all meaning.
Well, let me ask, box office. You've jumped on. I sent you the link because your comment into the chat was a big up Daniel Field, by the way. Your comment into the chat was, if we keep Richarlison, I don't want to see any moaning. And I think it was something like that. Who were you aiming that at? And what do you think we should be doing up top?
I'm undecided, but I know in my own heart that if we keep Richarlison, what we're doing here, I can't keep that below average Emil Heskey. I cannot. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. And then people say Slanky works hard. Give him a Blue Peter badge then. Honestly. You know what I mean? But I just don't know. Yeah, I mean, the only thing for me.
Did you come up with that? Did you come up with that like that? What did you think about earlier? Like, I'm gonna have to find a way to work that into my conversation at some point today.
No, it's a standard thing really for me. What I call Richarlison, the below average Emil Heskey. But anyway, moving on to actual scenarios. What I'm trying to think at the moment for Tottenham at the moment, striking force, and I think the problem is, I think we covered it already. I think there's just a saturated market where there's not that many good strikers out there. So you've got a choice really of going for a striker that's not on form, try and bring him into a team and try and create that, try and make him better in our system, or change up his game a little bit, or go for a young player. But we've got too many young players, so I don't really know what we're gonna do. But all I do know is I don't want to give Thomas Frank too much work at the moment, trying to make players better this season, because
it's too late for that. He's got a massive job.
I think that's where my concern is, because I was thinking about this morning, because I felt like getting us Champions League might be a hindrance this season, because all this coaching that he's got to do in the season, and then he's got Champions League on top of that, and he's got to keep on form in the league. And as people said just now about the relegation teams at the moment, the teams that are coming up, they're going to give it a go this season. So I don't think he's got the time to. I think he's going to have somebody like maybe it would be a good idea to maybe get a Rashford for a loan. Maybe, you know what I mean? Because I just don't think, or you're going to have a very strong midfield, or strong wingers that are going to be dangerous. You know what I mean? Because it's either,
Alex,
either or.
Can I just ask you a point on Richarlison? Could it be, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, I don't want him at the club. Could it be, though, that maybe we can't get him out? Like, we had an offer for him, and he didn't want to go to Saudi. Now, I listen, I'm not saying you can't force a player to move. You can't. That's just not the way life works. But what do we do if we can't get him out? What do we do? Like, i.e., do we let him go on loan with an option to buy, and so we make no money back, which means we can't replace anyway? How do we get rid of him if there's no suitors? And I'm not saying there aren't, but how do we do that?
You can't. It's tied into a contract. There's not a great deal you can do, really, is there? And it's come out so many times recently that he does not want to leave. Like, he's really quite firm on it. So we can't get rid of the guy.
I think the one saving grace for us might be that these Brazilian teams are actually getting some money from this Club World Cup, and might just be able to now suddenly afford a Richarlison in terms of taking him back to Brazil. Because I can't, to your point, Savva, I don't know who's going to buy him. He doesn't want to move to Saudi.
There's a lot of money flowing into Brazilian football right now. It's a good point, Connor. A lot of money going that direction.
How much would he be in your eyes, guys? What are we talking about? 40? 35?
Nothing like that.
10.
20,
you think
22, 23 million?
20.
Okay.
He's been amortized. He's had like how many years has he got left? It's 2 years left on his contract.
I'm just having a look at him now.
I think he's been amortized down to about like 18 million quid on the accounts
left. Yeah,
I don't think there'll be. I don't think you'll get much more than 20, 22.
The worrying thing is that we're keeping Son. Why? We're keeping Richarlison, Solanke. I mean, honestly, like, we're not improving, are we? You know what I mean? So it's like
2 years. 2 years.
People in the chat saying he's going to go to Everton, or he could go to Everton. Everton have just signed a striker.
So they want him, don't they? Everton have just signed. Was it Tierney Barry?
That's Barry. Who's a good player, by the way. He'll be actually really interesting to watch. He's a handful, that fella. Trust me. I've looked at him on the Y Scout tool. He is a bit of a. He's a unit. He's a proper unit. I think he's quite like nimble for his size as well. I think he'll be a bit of a handful. I'm not sure about his finishing. I think if you're sitting in like row 30 in the South Stand at Everton's new stadium, you might have a problem. Might get a headache or something occasionally. But he's a bit of a handful. I don't think the central defenders will enjoy playing against him.
It's an interesting one because Alex has got a point though, right? Like, if Son stays, it's an if Son stays, if Richarlison stays, if Solanke stays, if John, like, aren't we then going in with the same? We're going in with the same forwards that we've had for the last couple of years, and we're all sitting there going, "Well, hang on, we're meant to be a Premier League, Champions League team now." I feel like you've got to mix it up somewhere there. I don't think you can just say Kudus as the right-sided forward is enough. I don't know. Does anyone agree with that? I'd be happy for any of them to go. By the way, I don't really care for any of them in that way.
Johnson's not going anywhere, is he?
No,
No.
that's my point. Johnson's not going anywhere. Solanke's not going anywhere. So the
Odegaard's
two
not
that
going
we could talk about are
Mm.
Son and Richarlison. But
Son,
I don't
Solomon,
know.
That's a
Solomon
lot
and
of coaching. That's a lot of coaching to coach those players to actually do better than they did last season. That's a lot of coaching with the midfield as well as the defense as well. Because we lost, how many goals did we let England last season? 64 goals, 65 goals. You see what I'm saying?
It's fine.
So like expecting Frank to do all that in one pre-season, right? And like I just think you need some experience. You definitely need somebody experienced in that in that strike force right now so you don't have to rely on Johnson, because I'm sorry, Johnson has to do much better than last season. I'm sorry, he's got to do much better. I know, yeah, okay, we can look at goals and assists, whatever malarkey you want to look at, but I need to see something aesthetically better.
You
know what I mean?
Malarkey. Use the word malarkey. Love that.
Oh yeah, it's just not aesthetically better. You know what I mean? Just showing that he's actually growing as a player. Because I mean, for Wales, I mean, he's a Wales international. You know what I mean? He must have some inspiration from Bell. You know what I mean? He can't just sit there, just sitting on the back post trying to score goals, a goal hang every single week. You know what I mean? You got to be wanting to do better, because you're just going to be a below average Sterling. Like, look what's happened to Sterling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like.
Alex, I think when you say it's a lot of coaching for Frank to do, it's not all going to happen in one window. I think surely we all acknowledge, we're all old and ugly enough to acknowledge that. And I think anyone with half a brain realizes that not every fortune at Tottenham is going to turn around in the next 40 days. And the reason I use 40 days is I believe is it 40 or 39 or 38 days until we play PSG, right? So I think that if people have got half a brain, they'll realize that there will be lots that will get done, but it's not going to happen in one window.
I'm not saying,
you know what I mean?
saying,
like, it's not.
No, it's not. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying at the moment, I think there's a lot of work that I think they're giving Frank to do in a short space of time, right? And he wants to see every single player, like he's reportedly said, right? So it's a lot of work to do in a short space of time. I think they've got to make a really big decision on, like, I think he's going to have to make a decision on making sure the team is comfortable with the formation he wants to do. So I think they need to do a 3-4-3. That's just me. I think that's just, because everyone's. I think it's just the remnants of a team that is there for me to do that, right? And they need a few players that are actually know what they're doing, because I do feel that there's a lot to do over a season where he ain't got enough time to do a lot of coaching at the moment.
But why is it all, when you say in a short time frame, what I'm struggling to understand is who's putting this short time frame in place?
No,
like,
I'm saying pre-season. I just think with pre-season, right, he's going to have to, and he's getting to know the players as well, obviously, right? So with all that in that sense, and then we get into August, and August comes around very, very quickly. I just think the time for me, it goes very, very quickly, Savva. That's what I'm saying at the moment. I don't think it's going to be as easy as what people think. I think Frank has got a very hard decision to make whether he needs to go familiar with some certain players where they're familiar, maybe doing a 3-4-3 or something like that, rather than going in saying, I want to change this, I want to change that, I'm going to try and change this with this player. I just think, and it's just looking at the signings that we're looking at the moment. I'm just a bit wary at the moment. I don't know. I've just got that feeling at the moment. But I guess we have to see how it plays out the next couple of weeks. But it's just something I was thinking about this morning. You know what I mean?
Can I jump in quick, boys? I'm so sorry. Listen, it's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Sav, thank you so much for having me on, mate. I massively appreciate it. My headset is about to die, so
no worries, mate. No worries. I'm wrapping up.
See you again, mate.
Listen, thank you so much. You guys take care of yourselves. Thank you.
And take care, mate.
Everybody, take care.
I'm wrapping up the show in the next 5 minutes anyway. But listen, I guess for me, guys, I think
now, mate, we're about to have a ding dong derby about something. Savva, me and you. We're about to have a ding dong one, mate. I don't know why. I'm saying, but you say we're going to end in 5 minutes. Nah, we'll go for like 3 hours, mate. Just keep it going. Keep it going.
I can assure you, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. I mean, without Alex making this exact point, I think he does stumble on something that I just feel like, will our fans give Frank time? I do think he's got a lot of shit to sort out. I do think this man needs to come in, implement a system. I think I don't think he's stupid. I think he's a very astute man. I think he's very intelligent. I think he'll know in the main which players at Spurs he wants. Let's be fair. He knows Richarlison. He knows Solankis. He knows all of these guys. I think I'll ask Sean and Connor this. I think it's more the youngsters that he needs to see, isn't it? When we're all going, oh, he's going to keep this player and that player. I think it's more the youngsters that he needs to see in pre-season, isn't it? Than the Solankis and the Richarlisons. He'll know them, won't he?
Yeah, it is. I think this whole point about him wanting to see the players is, he hasn't come out and said that, has he?
No,
someone's just running with his story that he wants to look at Solomon. He wants to, and then who knows who he wants to
that
see.
got out of hand, didn't it? That whole it became a meme, didn't it?
It did become a meme, yeah. And I think throughout the interviewing process, he would have made some points about certain players, and to be honest, the tactical analysts and whatever else that work at the club would have made points about certain players who they think, we should be moving on, and this is the way the football's moving. That it's not just the manager that makes these decisions. But on that point about Frank having time or not, my worry is obviously there's a lot of vitriol, in my opinion, deserved towards ENIC and Levy. Also, there is a part of the fan base that is very upset about Ange being sacked, and there is going to be this constant comparison, particularly if we have a poor start to the season of, if we kept Ange, this would have happened, and we're not winning something. We've been knocked out of the FA Cup by Liverpool, but we would have won the FA Cup if we had Ange, and so on and so forth. And so I think
Frank lost this game 2-0. Ange only lost it by 1. Oh, it's going to be crazy for that next season, Connor. It's going to be crazy.
So although I think it's very easy for him to improve on the league position, because obviously it was 7th, 8th, and just having a manager with a proper system is going to close that gap somewhat. I think he's going to have these constant comparisons. Thankfully, we've got a fairly easy start to the season on paper, which might be helpful, because it might help, it might help just get us on that sort of winning run to start with, which helps just shut down some of that noise. But I think there is going to be that noise.
It's not going to shut down. It's not going to shut down. It won't. I think people.
As soon as you get knocked out of a cup, it's going to come up, isn't it?
I think people just need to just wave with the wave. I know this fan. I've done this 7 years. I've done this how many years on YouTube? I know how this fan base works. I'm sorry. I know how this fan base works now. I've known it like this is getting boring to me now. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Alex, are you an OG?
Well, it's just like that. It's just like the only thing is that I need to do more on my channel. But the point is, though, it's just that I just think I think it's kind of like a pot situation, right? It's like, you don't, and even Glasner, you saw that with Glasner at Crystal Palace. There might be a bit of difficulty at the beginning, but I think hopefully towards the end you'll see something of a remnants of a team that is improving, with players improving. I think that's
for sure,
and I think that's what people need to realize. I think if it's a coach, you'll see things, flowers grow through, towards the end. You see what I'm saying? So, but I just don't know what that looks like at the moment, because I've kind of been up and down with Tottenham, and I think last season was just so confusing to me, and us winning a trophy, and I've been so confused about the whole thing, even though I've enjoyed it while it has lasted. I just need to really see a normal Spurs now. Try and understand what Spurs are all about now, because for real now, because I've really been confused the last how many years now, really, Tottenham. I really have. And that's it, really.
I don't disagree. Let me give the last words, and then I'll go round the last thoughts of the night. Sean, I think the word there that Alex used, which I agree with, I want to see a normal Spurs. I do think that Thomas Frank is a normal manager in terms of he will go back to basics. He will make us look like a unit. Doesn't mean we're going to win every game. Doesn't mean we're going to win every week. But he will, won't he, mate? And I think that's the key thing for me in year one, is about consolidation for me. And as long as I can see as long as I can see progression and tactics growing and improvements throughout the year, that's the important thing for me. But Connor's right. The comparisons are going to be mad, mate. The comparisons are going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, but the fan base don't know what they want, mate. The fan base never have a clue. The amount of people, like yesterday, I put out a video saying there's an outside chance here, like that not only Kudus is going to get done, but Ed's going to get done. And the amount of people in the comments in my videos were saying, "You're an absolute bozo. What you drinking today? We're not getting any of these guys." And then this morning you wake up to the Ornstein thing. And then I put out a video, I go, look, one's looking likely. Don't write off the other one either. And the same people that literally 24 hours earlier were calling me a bozo, saying it's never going to happen, and now saying both are going to happen. And it's the fans just like flip flop. Like they're just weather vanes. Whichever way the wind is pointing, they'll pivot in that direction. So like I don't take any notice of whether or not the comparisons are going to be wild. At the end of the day, Postecoglou's gone. Either way, I don't think that Thomas Frank is going to get the brunt of it. I think if he has a bad start, it's going to be on Daniel Levy, because the fans that really are angry are after him in every possible moment that they can be. I think that I'm like you, mate. I genuinely think that next year for me, where I want to see Thomas Frank have a crack, I've got no doubts that he's going to organise us better for the Premier League. There's only one way to go in the Premier League. Like as someone said on a show that I was on a couple of days ago, like if we need 31 points, let's say 20 points improvement, it's a lot easier to move 20 points when your starting point is 38 from last season than it is if your benchmark is 50 points. Right? It's going to be very easy for Thomas Frank to not disappoint or not embarrass himself in the Premier League, but there are question marks about his cup credibility. So I think that where he needs to impress me is to have a deep cup run in a domestic cup. The Champions League is I'm not going to say a free hit, but like the Champions League for me is like we'll do our best and see what happens. If he can do a decent run in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup, I think that'll be great. I've got no problems with the league, but I'm like you, mate. I want to see just sort of incremental improvements, like steadiness, structural discipline, organisation, and little things. Like I do think the set pieces are going to be a real quiver in our bow next year.
Sean, I do always struggle with this deep cup run argument though, because if you draw Liverpool away in the third, fourth round or whatever, it's sort of outside
if you take the variance out of it, obviously if you get Liverpool in the third round, you're fucked. But and also like if you get Colchester, Norwich, whatever, all the way through, then nothing but a deep run will like a get to the final will suffice. But on an ordinary year where you sit there and go, you probably in the FA Cup, you hopefully get a couple of non-major tests in the first few rounds, and then as you get to the sort of last 16 quarterfinals, you take on a Premier League team, and then if you get up against a Villa, if you get up against a Newcastle in the quarterfinals or something like that, if you can get past that, then see where you get to in the later stages, then I'd be impressed. But I 100% agree with you, Connor. Like the variance in the draw is out of your control, and so you have to keep that in mind.
Well, that was proven last year, wasn't it? With the teams that we played last year, and look how we won the Europa League, isn't it? You know what I mean? So you've been proved right on that one, didn't you, Sean? On that one, because and Dan as well, to be honest with you. So you know what I mean? It's like,
was that say that again a little bit louder?
Well, you said you were proved right.
Okay,
but
Danny
as well was proved right as well. You know what I mean? It's like you can get this luck of the draw, isn't it? And look at the luck we got with the teams that we drew in the Europa League, isn't it? You know what I mean? So but we still got the job done, didn't we? So
Connor, you corrected me, because I'm usually someone that absolutely says what you say. Like the cup runs should be, you have to take it all in the context of who you get. Because variance in cups are everything. A good draw can get you can sneak through all the way. A bad draw, you can be unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think this point about closing the points, what you're saying, it's a lot easier. Obviously, I mean, you just have to look at our form against the teams that went down plus Wolves, right? just by winning those games home and away, you're suddenly 12 points better off or something. I haven't done the exact maths, but that's. And then suddenly you're, already starting to breach closer to the top 10, and obviously there's other games we shouldn't be losing. So, yeah, I think it's having a proper manager with a proper system closes somewhat of that gap. It's just that gap then between us and the top 5 without serious investment this summer and subsequent windows is not going to be closed, is it?
It's just
And some
those.
investment.
I just
It's,
want to
it's
say,
those people. Go on, Alex.
I just want to say though, just to let people know, I do want Kudus though. I'll take Kudus all day long.
So do I.
I ain't gonna defer from it.
Alex, I have to ask you this question because your usual spectrum of player analysis goes from bang average to okay. So I need to know where on the bang average to okay scale does Mohamed Kudus sit?
Good. He's a good player.
He's above it, is he? Wow. So he'll be the best player at the club. In fact, I wanted to ask you, Savva, have you got 2 more minutes? I wanted to ask you this question. And bear in mind, there's a lot of ways that you can spin the answer here, right? Who is the most important player at Tottenham currently?
James Maddison.
James Maddison, maybe, yeah.
He's our only creativity. He is the creative spark. I think all the wingers are much of a muchness. I think the strikers are okay. We've got cover in defence. I think when you take James Maddison out the team, for as frustrating as he can be, he is that. I always feel that when James Maddison plays well, I feel that Tottenham play well.
100%.
Yeah. Big scores.
And I don't feel that about any other player in our entire squad. There's no other player I look at and go, when you play well, we play well. So for me, James Maddison.
But if you sold James Maddison, if Tottenham sold James Maddison, you'd be devastated.
I don't think it's about devastated because I'm never.
That's the biggest loss to lose, is it?
For me, I think it. I mean, listen, if you're selling James Maddison and you're replacing with Eze, then we're doing it. But I do think if you sold your creative player, I'll be asking many questions. But
he's not that great, not consistent though, is he?
I mean, if you look at the 3 years before he came to Tottenham, he was getting nearly 20 GA a season from attacking midfield, which are bloody good numbers.
Even at Spurs, he averages a goal or assist every other game in the league.
Right,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem that we've seen is we've had a manager for 2 years has had one of the only playmakers in the Premier League and decides that he needs to be on the halfway line or out on the left. The difference we've got now is Thomas Frank. Look what he did with Damsgaard last year. He played him in the number 10, right? And the guy started getting loads and loads of assists and looking like a proper player. I expect to see that this year from Maddison. I expect him to be in the number 10. I don't want him on the halfway line. I don't care when people go, oh, he doesn't trap. I don't want my attacking midfielder playmaker there. I want to know what they're doing going that way. So for me, I think he's our best footballer.
That's not what I asked though. Most important player is what I asked.
Same thing for me.
I'm not sure it is because there's a million ways that you can spin it, right? Like in terms of
for me, he's both.
I hear.
He's both for me. I mean, you look in that final, for example. You look in those games when Maddison doesn't play. We have absolutely the only outball we have is the counter attack on the wing. Like when Maddison plays, he wants to get on it. He wants to make things happen. But too many times he looked up and he's got Porro and Adogi standing on top of him. The two centre mids are on top of him. Solanke's on top of him. And he's like, you could see him when he got the ball almost saying, go away. Like, go away. This is my 20-yard area. Give me the ball here. I will make things happen. So I think Frank really gets the best out of him.
I think you're being kind with the strikers.
We're going to see him in the number 10. So I'm looking forward to Maddison this year.
I think you're being kind with our strikers. I think they're bang average. Sorry, I've had enough of them.
So what did I say? What did I say that was kind about them?
You said they were good or something like that. I think you.
I didn't say they were good. I said that, the strikers are the strikers. I think everyone knows I'm not enamored by any of the forwards at Tottenham Hotspur or any of the wingers at all right now.
But I agree with you about Maddison being important because I think I do think that. But yeah, I just think he needs to play.
Sean, why did you ask that? I'd be interested to know. Why did you ask that?
Well, my dad asked me today. He's like, "How's the channel going?" I was like, "Yeah, it's going okay." He's like, "So I'll ask you a question, Sean." He goes, "Who's the most valuable?" I think what she said, most valuable. Or he said, "Who's?" I think he said, "Who's the most valuable player in your opinion about Tottenham?" And I went, "Most valuable." It's like probably Romero, maybe Van der Ven. He goes. So you'd hate it if he left? I went, "No, I like Romero to go." He went, "Well, you say it's the most valuable." I said, "Well, in cost." He was like, "No, that's what I meant." He goes, "Okay, let me rephrase. Who's the most important?" And I went, "Fucking hell!" I was like, "There's so many ways that you can think about that. Like the absence of a player, the market value. Like, do you have backup behind it? Who would you hate? Who's the player that you'd hate to see leave the most? Who's the player that does more for you? Like the idea of like who is the most important player in your team. There's so many ways that you can think about that." And I couldn't give him an answer. I actually landed on Pedro Porro, if I'm entirely honest. I think because I think there's also unique specificity. Like, there's certain players that can do things that you can't replace in the market very cheaply. But there's other players that you probably can find replacements for fairly easily. So like, I don't know, but I landed on Pedro Porro, but I don't consider Pedro Porro my favourite player, nor do I consider him the best player in the team.
Porro is
in terms of like our most important player, I think Pedro Porro possibly is that guy.
Pedro Porro is not the most important player just because he can cross the ball. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you. No, I hear you. It's a very individual, but I don't know how to interpret that idea. The most important is like you can spin it. There's like so many different ways that you can think of it. Because I don't think
Sean, it's quite telling though, isn't it? It's quite telling on the state of the current squad that right now we're all debating it because we're struggling to come up with someone.
Yeah.
Whereas, maybe in the sort of prime Poch era, we might have been debating it for the other reason, i.e., there's
too many
number
options.
of players you can pick.
because most of them are back. Supposedly backups. You see what I'm saying? And that's the thing. They're backup players, and that's the thing that frustrates me about this. There's no competitiveness about the team whatsoever.
The thing is,
I would sell every single one of our
midfield. The argument that Bergvall is like arguably because he's got such a huge important future for us.
Listen, he's a good player, but again, it's moments, and I just think this fan base twerk for things that just do little moments, and for me, I'm just not that guy. You know what I mean? I just think I think he needs a little bit more seasoning, and I think he's got a challenging season next season for me. You know what I mean? So
tell me you're Swedish without telling me you're Swedish. Just saying, Alex. Just saying.
Yeah, I know. Kulusevski again as well. It's just a lot. I think there's a lot of players. I'll just say I wouldn't be caring if they get rid of them. To be honest with you. You know what I mean? I just think there's a lot of players out there just need to say, you know what, come on, do a little bit better. Yeah.
Do you know what I would say? Just quickly before we end on Connor's point, I think that's exactly where I am, Connor. Like if Sean was pushing me for an answer, which he wasn't, my answer is Maddison. However, I've said this for years. If I wake up tomorrow and any of our players have gone, there's no one where I go, what? You've sold him? Like, there's no one where I would lose sleep. I don't care if people want to go, but Val's brilliant for the future and Kulu this and Maddison that and Porro. There's no one I look at and go, you are completely irreplaceable. And you're right, Connor. Back in the day, I would have said, God, hang on. Is that Musa Dembele? I don't want to lose him. Yeah. But hang on, Christian Eriksen.
Basically the whole 11 almost.
Exactly. Right now, there's and I think it's summed up nice. James Flower sums it up nicely. So back in the day, we all knew who we wanted on the back of our shirt. We all had that player that we went, I've got to have Defoe. I've got to have Berbatov. I've got to have Klinsmann, Sheringham, Kane. I look around now and go,
I was on the HK last week and they gave me 9 options for a name on the back of the shirt. I went for no name, no number. I didn't fancy any of them really. So.
Yeah, listen. I'm not saying there's not some good players there. There are, but I think the word for me is there's none that are irreplaceable. We keep having a chat about Romero again. Good defender, not irreplaceable. Porro, he's great going that way, but can't defend that way at the moment. Not irreplaceable. Bergvall, again, I need to see what he is before people keep telling me he's this amazing player. I need to know what is he. I think what we do, I think Alex is right on this one. This doesn't mean I don't like Bergvall, by the way, people, before everyone jumps on me. What Bergvall's done, I don't know if Alex agrees with me here. Bergvall will get the ball, drive past a couple of players in midfield, and we all go, oh my God, that boy's amazing.
Yeah.
That's not how I'm judging if you're a really good midfielder.
No.
I'll judge it when he gets given a position, sticks to it, and controls games. That's how I will judge it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
in his defense,
we're so starved that everybody has seen this kid come into a really dysfunctional football club, drive forward a few times, and we go, oh my God, he is generational, and he's the best young midfielder in Europe. And it's like, whoa, like calm. Let's calm.
Walton. I saw Walton. I saw Walton against us for Crystal Palace, right, away from home. Now that was a proper performance. You know what I mean?
Sorry, Alex, you did not Alex box office. Alex, you're not listening. It's not a negative, but I don't think he was playing in any position, Alex. In the Ange system, I don't think there was a 6, an 8, and a 10. Everyone was just all over the place, running around. And for me, I want to see him pinned down, give him a position. Sean Connors, you see what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying before everyone puts this Bergvall hype, I want to see him given a position, make it his own, and run games of football. But because he's Swedish, you can't say anything to Alex because he's Swedish.
For me, he's going to end up as an 8, to be honest. From what I think he'll end up as an 8, and look, I give him a lot of credit because he's had to move across from the Swedish league, and he has made such an impression in the team, over pretty established midfielders, and the great comparisons, right? But yeah, obviously he's got a huge runway to go before you start talking about him being world class or anything like that. But right now, the signs are very promising. Hopefully, with a proper coach coming in with a proper system, as you say, he can establish himself as someone who's part of the first team every week, right? And but yeah, look, I think for him, he's got the world at his feet. The future's there for him, and hopefully he just grabs it. I mean, he offers a lot more than Odeberg, Gray, and some of the other youngsters we've seen.
Sure.
But we'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to leave it there. By the way, I think there is a player in Bergvall. By the way, I'm not saying there isn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I feel like he's been the beneficiary this year of such chaotic mess.
It's been terrible.
That we go, oh my God, he's amazing. And I'm somebody that likes to see some consistency from everybody. I don't rave about people after 5 to 10, 15 games. I want to see them really nail it down. So let's see if he is one of our midfielders, that only leaves one other midfield position. So if he's as good as people say, who's the guy playing next to him? That's going to be the question, right? Who's the guy? Is it a 6? Is it an 8? I
think we've got to make a decision. Make that decision because it's going to be important for his development, isn't it? But I don't feel comfortable with him just filling in that spot in that midfield. He's our main. He's going to just be our midfield, our double pivot. I don't feel comfortable. I like to see him being challenged, in my eyes, anyway, with another young player. I just think that for me, because I don't think just on the back of last season that he should just be our main midfielder. I just don't feel like that for me. I think you've got to be harsh because we're in a tough season this season. I think you've got to be harsh. And we've got to be a little bit ruthless, a little bit, because that's how you get plays. That's how you make plays better. When they're challenged a little bit more, I think that's the only way forward. I think that's the only way forward in life. I think that's the only way you can get better in life. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to look at it like this. You're not just looking at him challenging in the team. You're looking at other midfielders as well, all over the Premier League or in Europe. You got to challenge to do better in those. Because these are going to be battles that he's got to have to battle in those sort of games, big games and stuff. And how are you going to get better if you're not challenged? I just don't see it. You see, so that's the way I do.
Well, you're on mute, Sean, by the way.
Are you getting better at your bench press, Alex? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, definitely.
Challenging yourself, or is that you got like a PT that's pushing you every day a little bit more?
Not really. I do it myself because it's self-motivation, Sean. So you should try it sometime. Anyway, moving on.
On
Back to
that
you,
note,
Sean.
no,
Back to
no,
you,
back
Savva,
to
I
me.
mean.
Back
Savva,
to me.
Savva.
On that note, we are going to end the show. Big up to Daniel Field, who's coming with another super sticker. That's very, very generous of you, my man. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you, mate. And then Mr. Pox Office. I wonder who can bench more, Mr. Box Office or Mr. Pox Office, has said, right, listen, Mr. PO Radio has been at this for 7 years. Buster Keaton, Stan Laurel, Harold Lloyd, OG, bruv. If you don't know the itch, get to know. That is a sentence and a half. I'm too tired to even go into it. Mr. Box Office, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Everyone in the chat, please subscribe to all my guests. You can find Alex, Mr. Box Office TV, Spurs Talk Show for Sean, and then follow Connor on X at Levynomics 1882. Please keep subscribing. We're only 36 away now from the 19,000. So if anyone would subscribe, that would be amazing. Listen, I guess like anything, guys, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what we do in pre-season. If anyone's going, by the way, on Tuesday night, let me know. Probably going to head down to Bromley, see what our under-21s do.
Going.
You going?
Yeah, I live in Beckenham, so yeah,
I'm
going to go. Yeah, I'll drop you a text.
Yeah, I'll drop me a text. That's where my wife's from.
Friends. Yeah,
that's where my wife's from.
Sean's getting jealous.
Yeah, cool. Oh, yeah.
Come to my barbecue, friends.
Oh, there you go. Idiots. Right. Guys, on that note, I'm tired. Go to bed. Listen, guys and girls, I'm like the rest of you. I'm hoping that in the next 24, 48 hours, Levy can pull his finger out and we can get this deal done. And then we can move on to the next one. If not, we're going to have a massive, massive meltdown. And I have noticed that Sean has set a show. I don't know if he knows what something that's going on. You've set a show for the 10th, which is in 3 days' time, saying Spurs meltdown. What do you know?
That's the day when Mohamed Kudus' release fee expires.
When it expires, okay. So after that, it's not 85 million anymore.
No, but I've just got a show called The Meltdown that just happens to be on Thursday, so it's a coincidence.
Oh, Sean is hoping. Saying. Anyway, on that note, guys, take care. Much love, and as always, come on, you Spurs.
Bye.